All right, folks. Welcome back to another episode of Tuesday Night Live on a Wednesday. And you know, it's been kind of a trying week for a lot of folks that knew Dion a lot closer than I did. But just a little backstory: I was fishing over on Kincaid on Monday, and I started getting like several texts, and you know, eventually I looked at them and I saw people talking about, did you hear about Dion passing? And I'm like, oh man, that's horrible. But I was kind of like in and out of service, and I got home and I did some research and looked, and sure enough, it had, he was no longer with us, and I was kind of shocked, and I think the fish knew it too because the fish were in shock too. I think I got like two bites. It was a horrible day on Kincaid, but yeah, got home and I thought, how can I contribute to the legacy of Dion? Because I was fortunate enough to have him on the live stream, I think 5 or 6 times, and he was a phenomenal guest. I mean, just my favorite live streams, hands down, were just chewing the fat with Dion. He just had so many stories, and I thought, well, I'm gonna sit down and make a video and just capture some of my favorite stories that he shared on the live streams. And I got to doing it, and it's like I found myself just listening to him tell these stories, and it was hard to edit because there's so basically the whole live stream, like the whole thing was a really good story. So I ended up staying up really late, and I got some clips chopped up and shared that in a video format yesterday, the day before. I can't even remember, but um, you know, I just remember the first time that I reached out to Dion. I was super nervous because I was thinking, why would a Bassmaster Classic winner and an FLW Cup winner, which I think there's only 5 people that have ever done it, so it's super rare. But why would he want to come on, a live stream with somebody like me? And so I was super nervous, and man, after about 15-20 minutes of talking with him, he's just got that calming presence. He's just super down to earth. He makes you laugh. He just, he was a big burly dude, but he had a huge heart. He's a really soft guy on the inside, and he just loved to tell stories. And he had so many stories. The history just ran so deep, starting with his dad, and just the whole Lake of the Ozark scene, all the road trips and the tournaments that he'd been on. And it just the stories were limitless, to be honest with you. The stories were limitless. And probably one of my biggest regrets was I never got to fish with him. I should have pushed that a little bit more, because we do the big bash, and we'd give our predictions on what we thought the winning weights were and what the winning fish was going to be caught. And we actually had a wager on the last Big Bash prediction that he was on the last live stream, and he guessed 7-something pound. I guessed high 6s, and mine ended up being close. And the wager was that if I won, I was going to be able to travel to Lake of the Ozarks and get to fish with him and see how he skips this little jig up underneath the dock. And if he won, he was going to come to Southeast Missouri, and we were going to go over to Southern Illinois and do some punching and some frog fishing and stuff. And I never made that happen, and that's probably my biggest regret. I should have taken advantage of that. And that's it. It reminds me, I mentioned that in the video. It's like we get so complacent with our day-to-day life, and we talk to people and make like loose plans. And it reminded me that you need to tighten those plans up. You need to make a hard date, put them on your calendar, put them in your phone, make it happen, because you never know what the next day is going to bring. There's no guarantees. We're all going to go someday. And unfortunately, Dion left this planet way too early. But tonight's live stream is about the memory of Dion. It's about honoring a great man, a great fisherman, a great asset to the community, to the Lake of the Ozark scene. And we want to share some of the stories that he left us with. He may be gone, but his stories will live on forever. And that's the whole purpose of this stream, is to just keep it lighthearted and just share some of the memories that were left behind by Dion. So we're going to bring in James from Osage Outdoors. He's somebody that spent a lot of time with Dion. You know, they had a podcast. They did a weekly podcast. I believe it was typically on Wednesday nights about 6 o'clock. And he got to see Dion in front of the camera, behind the camera, spent some time in the boat with him, and just a lot of a lot of fun times with Dion that James had shared. So we're going to bring James in here. What's going on, brother? How are you?
Good evening, Gabe. How are you, sir? Or is it Mr. Monty? What do we go with tonight?
Gabe or Tin Horse, whatever. Yeah.
But no, not Monty.
Now, Monty's fine too. Yeah, that's a nickname that my uncle used to call him Monty years ago, and I just kind of adapted that name when I started my YouTube channel. Just went with Tin Horse Monty, and yeah. But as long as you don't call me anything else, we'll be fine. Keep it to Gabe or Tin Horse Monty. I've been called worse, you know.
You know, you're talking about being nervous about being on the show with Dion. I'm kind of nervous being on with you tonight. You know, you got a hell of a lot of followers and a pretty big crowd and a lot of people watching tonight. So I got my ink pen out because I listened to you talk, and I'm one of those when Dion was talking on the podcast, I have to create questions because I would doubt a lot of stuff he said. You've already said a bunch of crap wrong, so I got to correct you on a few things. But that's okay.
Fact check.
No, you know, it's like you said, you're skipping a little jig. You know, Dion did not skip a little jig. Just so you know. A bigger jig can get back there better. So it's kind of a fallacy. Everybody thought he did, but it's a little bit bigger. And here's a secret, everybody. He painted eyeballs on his jig. On each side of like a football jig or flipping jig, he painted eyeballs on it.
Eyes. One of the times that he was on the live stream, he talked about doctoring up the plastics on his jig, like getting some markers and making it look like a crawfish. So I'm not surprised that he put eyes on the jig. Just
got to remember, and I'm trying to say this respectfully as possible. And by the way, if I can't see myself, we're good, right?
Yeah, I can see you just fine. You can't see yourself.
Get to see me, so it's I kind of like seeing myself. So you
look great.
Thanks. You look good too, man.
There might be a setting on your end that you haven't.
No, it's all good. As long as we can hear it, it's all good. We talked before the show, and talked to Amy this week a couple times. She came down store yesterday, and just want everybody on the air to know that Gabe Montgomery is an awesome dude. He's got a fantastic show, and Dion loved coming on the show. Really liked being a part of it, and we're all grateful that you got that on there, because when we did our podcast, our goal, our mission was to try to preserve those stories and get them captured, and we got a good year and a half of it, lots of content, and you got some too. And I mean, I think all the fans owe it for you for the hard work you put into that to make sure that we preserve those stories for the future people to watch. So, Amy told me this, since, I don't want anybody to be sad, but, she was talking to her grandkids about, if you're ever sad, if you're ever lonely and you want to talk to Dion, thank God for the internet. You can go in there and watch him now whenever you want to. You get to hear those stories, and you get to hear those tales, and I think that's a pretty awesome deal, So thank you too for that, because it's no matter who, if it's two-time world champion, or if it's even me, chummy old me that's a nobody, somewhere down the road, this content's up there forever, and somebody's going to get to see this, and it's really awesome. So thank you for everything you do. It's a great thing what you're doing.
Well, thanks for telling me that. It really means a lot, and because I felt the same way whenever we had Dion on. He's just a joy to talk to. He's funny. You find yourself laughing like a little kid, we're like a couple school children on here, just laughing and chumming it up. So it's great to hear that he enjoyed it as well.
Oh yeah, you just got to remember something now that he's not here to defend himself. I get to pick on him a little bit. So one of the things we always said in the show, you can watch all of his content, and you can listen to it intently, and you can study it. But it's up to you to determine what's true or not. Right. That's what he always said.
Well, that's the art of a good storyteller. That's the art of a good storyteller. And you add a fisherman. Fishermen are notorious for turning a 3-pound bass into a 5-pound bass. Whether it's secondhand storytelling, or whether they hold the fish, they long arm the fish and stick it right in the camera. We got tricks. Oh, yeah. So fishermen and storytelling go hand in hand 100%.
Now, I will say that 93% of it was probably all true. So it's up to you to determine what the other 7 was. So, you know, it's all good. But yeah, it's good. It's good stuff. I don't think that, you know, outside of his dad, I can't think of anybody that is a better storyteller than those 2 guys. And it's all about the delivery and the way you can do it. And you know, Dion took a lot of pride in that. You know, he was proud of his ability to reach out to people, you know, and communicate with them. And I mean, it was, you know, there's 26 years of stories. You know, where do you start and where do you stop? You know, but it started with Stella and ended up with Dion. You know, and that's in that order. It went to Stella, to Guido, to Dion, and then here we are. So
yeah, I was looking back at there were tons of posts on Facebook, people just mentioning his passing, and the comments. There were so many comments from people that had interactions with Dion over the years, and the positive stories. And you know, I was outside of Bass Pro Shops or wherever, and I saw him, and I came up and talked to him, and most pros would have not given me the time of the day. And next thing you know, I'm sitting there talking to him for 30 or 45 minutes, and just story after story of where he took time out of his day to just.
Well, the man loved to talk. I mean, that's he did, unless he was fishing, you know, then he didn't want to talk a lot, you know. But I'm one up on you. I got to fish with him once, and we were talking about records and all the stuff that he did. I think I might be able to hold the record of being undefeated with him as a partner in fishing. So I don't think anybody's ever been undefeated fishing tournaments. Yeah, we were one and done. So I think I might be able to be the only one in the history to ever fish with Dion Hibdon and never lost a tournament. So
right.
That's
now you mentioned he fished with a heavy jig, not a light jig, and
correct.
You talked about how good of a skipper, and so
now mind you, his
fishing ability.
Yeah, his dad was more of a finesse fisherman than he was. You know, they each had their, you know, everyone comes out of their own. And you know, you can ask Lawson these things; he'd probably clarify it. But just in my time I spent with him on the water and what we talked a lot, you know, he preferred something a little bit just a slightly bigger. You know, he liked 5/8 kind of stuff. You know, and I think the one thing that I found fascinating more than anything is I don't think the entire day that we fished together he fished over 5 foot deep. You know, it was just that. And, you know, it's time of the year and it's how you fish. You know, I've read articles about him fishing and, you know, some FLWs and some MLFs or BFLs where he fished out 30 feet. You know, he knows how to fish multiple. But that day, that time when I got to experience a world champion fisherman, he fished a 5/8 jig. He skipped it way the hell up underneath the dock, and we fished 5 feet of water, and he's crushed them. You know, and the joke was I caught 1 fish that day. And we won by a little bit with 4 fish, but I always said that my fish won the tournament. You know, it wasn't the 2 6.5 pounders caught on the same dock that day, which incidentally I have on film. But it was, you know, it was that 1 15-inch fish I caught to put us over the top to get paid. So, which he did not think it was funny at all.
Thing about team tournaments is the net boy is just as important as the guy that's catching them.
That's right, and I did good. I didn't knock a single one off.
There you go.
Know, it's hilarious, and I think I told you this before, and I'm sure you can hear a lot of stories, but the thing that I enjoyed the most that day, and for those that don't know, last year we fished a little pickup tournament on Lake of the Ozarks. It was called the Angry Pirate Tournament. Andy Caps puts on a stellar tournament, a bunch of heavy hitters. We decided we were going to go fish it, and we've been talking about it for years. So we had the opportunity, went out and did that, and we won that tournament that day. But Dion actually went to his pocket and. I was telling you earlier on the show, I wanted to learn the secrets of a world champion fisherman, and what I got was a history lesson, and it was really cool because he would talk about, you know, Dad used to fish here, you know, this is where my uncle used to fish, this is where my grandpa used to fish, and he's like, you know, turn the camera off, we're gonna raid some of Lawson's water right now, you know. So it was all, you know, it was just, you always hear that story about, you know, you're as good as fishermen as the information you gather. But man, those guys had all the information. You know, they had all the history and all the knowledge, and you put that together, it makes you one incredible fisherman. You know, I think Andy put in his obituary that he always thought himself as a mediocre angler. I mean, to all of us that looked up to him and thought he was just an absolute world champion legend, you know, I respectfully disagree. You know, I think he was a phenomenal, incredible fisherman, and he may have thought that, but he definitely wasn't. You know.
Well, he stayed humble, and I remember listening to him speak at the Warrior William tournament, and he started out each one of them with, so are you guys catching them? And everybody's like, and he's like, well, that's good, because I'm not catching them either.
Yeah.
So he had no problem being honest about the fact that we don't all go out and catch them all the time. Even the greatest in the world has to figure it out. And that's part of fishing. You know, some people will have an ego and they'll act like they go out and just smash them all the time, when that's not the reality. So to hear somebody that's got, you know, the accolades that he has and the history and on the lake go out and not catch them all the time too. It just, that creates a common bond between the common weekend fisherman and somebody that's experienced the pinnacle of fishing. And he had no problem being humble, which is awesome.
Right. Absolutely. But with that being said, Amy and I had a good laugh yesterday. We got together, we chatted a little bit, and we were talking about the outpouring of support on social media. But one thing we both laughed about, you know, and I understand the term humility and what it means, but in the fishing world and during the tournament days when he was at his peak, he was very far from humble.
Oh yeah.
He was not. And his dad was even more funny, because he would come into our store and, you know, he'd been fishing all day. And I'd always say, did you catch him? You know, that's what you just naturally say. And he would always respond, well, I went, didn't I? So, you know, that's what I got with Guido. Dion, you know, when you're going out there, and I don't care if it's Dion or anybody else, when you go out amongst 150 of the best anglers in your lake, whatever lake you're on, I mean, humility has to take a back seat for a little bit. You know, you got to be a little cocky, and you got to be a strong, you know, my
game face on.
Better than yours attitude. And Dion did not lack that in any level whatsoever. You know, he was cocky and he was strong and forward on that. And, you know, that was the awesome part about it. But like everyone says, when it's done and he wraps it up, he's out there talking to the fans. He's out there signing autographs. He'll take any interview, you know, and that was the humility that I really like to see the other side of it. You know, it's when we do our podcast and we would log off, I always tell people, if you come and watch our show live, we got two shows. You got the one where we're on the screen here, you and I are talking, and then when we log off, you got the rest of the story, you know, and it was, sometimes they were good, sometimes they're not so good. So, but, you know, there's some humility, and sometimes he was just flat pissed and just said, you know, the crap that's coming out of my mouth was wrong, you know, it's no good. And I get a phone call from Stella on the other end saying, you guys get your head out of your butts, because, you know, you got to do a better job. That wasn't a very good show, you know, so.
So that's one of the things I did want to talk about while you're on here, was you guys did a podcast for about 1.5 years or so. So how did that get started? Where did the idea to do a podcast with Dion come up?
God, I don't even know. You know, it was, we'd had a pretty good relationship going, and I needed help bad in our store. We were short staffed, and, you know, he was not doing much around the house, fishing some tournaments. And I just blindly said, hey, if you ever need some time and you want to come help, you know, I could really use some. And damn if he didn't come and hang out in the shop with us, you know, and talk to customers. And I'm going to go outside the fishing world a little bit, but it was the coolest thing ever. People would come in the store and they'd go like, hey, is that who I think it is? And I would say, yeah, it's David Fritz, you know, and they would go over, you know, he's like really pissed, you know, I'm like, no, that's the wrong fat guy. Sorry. No, that's Dion Hibdon. Like, we thought it was, you know, and the coolest thing ever though is, you know, you talk about humility, and people would come in and they're recreational anglers, they're not tournament anglers. They know this guy's a world champion, and they don't know how to use a bait caster. They don't know how to do these things, and they were intimidated. And he would take those customers and go out behind the building, and in 20 minutes they came in, they're proficient with the bait caster. But he took that time to work with them and show them and teach them, because, you know, after talking to Amy, I think a lot of things got really clear. I think Dion's biggest pride and what he took his most passion about was getting kids to fish, getting people to enjoy the outdoors and explore and love it. And I think it didn't matter if you were 70 or if you were 4, you know, as long as you had the desire to want to fish, he was going to help you do it. And he wasn't going to stop until you had some confidence and go. So I got to see some things like that I thought were just amazing. You know, I mean, just some good stuff. But I do think the next step in the podcast was we were talking about all of Guido's stories, and I wish we could have had the opportunity to capture those stories. And he said, well, you know, let's get the camera out and let's just do it. And I said, well, let me do a podcast. So we set up a crappy little computer one night, and I'm notorious for drinking beer and putting some whiskey up there. And it kind of loosened me up. I'm not an alcoholic, but in podcasts, I like to be. And we sat behind a bait tank one night. And if you go look at our first episode, you can hear the aerators running in the background. And we just shot this show with Amy sitting across in a folding chair watching us. And she had one of her friends was with us. And Stella's in Alabama calling and critiquing us. And that was how it started. And the goal was to capture the stories. I'm the negative Nelly. He was always the positive one. I think today's fishing world is boring as hell. And it's not live technology. I'd like to say it is, but part of it is, staring at a TV screen and trying to sell a marketing plan on television is not as exciting as it used to be when guys were out there fishing blind and figured it out and explaining the who, what, when, where, and why of fishing. And Dion Hibdon was a master at that. He wanted to let you know where those fish live and how they lived, where they swam. You and I talked about it earlier. We were talking about fish just going for a swim, and it's like he talked about bass as if they were a person. This is what they do all day. They get up in the morning, they wake up, they have a yawn, go out and look for a snack, come back in, hanging out. Maybe they want to have sex, don't know. But sometimes they get bored and they just want to go for a swim, and you got to go. That's a cruiser, and he kind of related things in a way that were like really, really cool. Talked about, bass and a hook in their mouth, and, a guy would swing and miss fish, and he'd say, that fish probably felt the hook. And he's like, have you ever stuck a bluegill in your mouth? It's like, no. He's like, you stick it in there, he's going to stick those fins out and they're going to poke in every inch of your skin. He said, you don't think a bass going to feel that stuff? He's like, he didn't feel that hook. He said, that's dumb. And so he put things in perspectives that I loved, because it was anybody who wasn't a tournament angler can understand it, and he could put it in layman's terms that made it a lot of fun. It was just, once you got him started, man, you just got to sit back and let him roll, because he was going to go, and it's fun, a lot of fun. I mean, I couldn't be more blessed to have had the year and a half to capture those stories. So, and they're up there forever now. So it's awesome.
That's really true about the bluegill thing. And then the crawfish, they got the pointy pinchers and stuff.
That's
so
right.
They're used to having like resistance in their mouth when they eat something.
I feel like tonight I'm speaking vicariously through Dion right now. He would always say, you did a little pincher thing like this. He'd always say, what the last thing a crawdad does before he gets eaten by a bass? He holds up his pinchers and goes like, and then they eat him. It's like they can't do anything. It's just like this defensive thing. And you talk about that's why jigs got to have that look. That's that defensive position that they have. And it's just the way he told those stories that I found it's just good stuff. I mean, that's just good stuff. And not everybody can do it that way. But he was the master at it, and it was awesome. Because I just blurb out to people that they ask about fishing. I just speak his same story because I don't have my own. I mean, I'm not that good. It's like this fish. One day, this fish, he grabbed my bait and he ran off. And the next time, he just crushed it and stayed in the brush pile. Do you know the difference? Why? Do you know?
No.
Okay, so here you go. Here's Dion. You ready? Okay. He said, if you throw that jig out there in the brush pile, and that fish grabs it and runs off, you know what he's doing? There are other fish there that are either bigger or they're aggressive. So he's getting away so he can go away, spit it out, turn it around, swallow it. And if you ever catfish, you know what happens. Catfish will run, then he'll stop, and he'll digest it. He said bass do the same thing. He said, now, when you catch that crusher in the brush pile, he's that big son of a gun that you hooked into, and you got him, he's in there, and he's staying in there. You done got the biggest one. It's time to move on. Because there ain't going to be another one. Now, if you catch that fish he's running, there's more to be had, and probably better ones. So you can differentiate fish by how they act. And it was just good stuff. I mean, it's just, I'd like to take credit for those things, but I can't. And it's just, the stories just are never ending.
See, that knowledge that's passed down through years of experience and just thinking about what a fish is doing. Why is it doing this? Why is it responding? Why is it reacting this way? That's something that just, you got to live that to know, right. Not everybody knows that.
I spoke to Carol Cox, and for those who don't know Carol Cox, Bob Cox was the founder of Charger Bass Boats. I think he's got to be in his, early 90s, late 80s, and Carol's a little bit younger than him, but not by much. And we were talking on the phone about Dion being pretty sick, and the end picture wasn't looking good. And she said to me, which it gives me a lot of comfort, and I really enjoy this line. She said, how grateful should we all be that we got all that life in that short amount of time from him. And I had to think about that for a couple of days. And, you read the story, he was 58 years old. The man started fishing when he was 16. His dad fished before that. His grandfather guided on Lake of the Ozarks. And we got all that stuff in a 40-year period. And we got to experience it, live it, talk to him. It's recorded. It's up there for people to see. I mean, we're all pretty lucky that we got that, and even if it fell way too short than what we wanted. I feel really blessed and fortunate that we got to be a part of it. And, I hope people look at that, look at the life that he lived and the commitment he had to the sport and, feed off of it, and don't quit. It's an awesome sport. You got to be a part of it. You got to get your kids out there and do it, and I think that's what he would have wanted.
Yeah. And his he was such a part of the community down there too. I think you kind of nailed it when you're talking about getting kids out and making it a family deal, not just an individual deal. And that's something that I'm guilty of. I fish by myself a lot and I need to take my kids more. It's obvious when you look at, Lawson and Peyton and Connor, probably not so much, but he spent time on the water outdoors with his kids. He made fishing like a family thing. So
yeah, I mean, it's why they were dubbed the first family of fishing.
Right, exactly.
Traveled everywhere. The kids went to school in the motorhome. That's what they did. And back then that was the norm. And it's just they all knew that family for that. They were a family that fished together, traveled together. And that's made it cool. I know you're gonna have a lot of guests on tonight. It's time for me to share my story. Can I?
Let's do it. Yes, sir.
Okay, so I told this to Amy that yesterday morning. I haven't told many people the story, but I've known the Hibdon family upwards of 30 years plus, and I've seen very beginning when I wanted to be a professional angler, spending time out in their house and helping them out and them helping me out. Sorry, I said that wrong. I never helped them with anything. But they were mentors to the sport, and they helped everyone they could that had any desire to fish. And that was, I wanted to fish professionally. They sent me out to the house, sit down with Guido. We studied, I'm old. We studied maps, before GPS. We didn't have GPS on our boats then. We were looking at paper maps and topos and, at Wilson Lake, you got to do this. Kentucky, you got to do this. Rayburn, you got to do this. But on the weekends, high school fishing had just kind of started. And they had like junior bass masters and those kind of things. And the trade-off was, we went out and took kids fishing. That was their thing. Sundays, wherever we're at, we're going to do that. So get a call from Jill, who's Dion's first wife. And she's like, we're going to go to Truman and get your boat and we'll see you up there at Longshore. I said, okay. Got like halfway up there and my transmission went on my truck because I wasn't a wealthy guy. I had a piece of crap old regular cab Chevy truck. And I had a boat that I bought from the Hibdons, which was, we call it the skunk boat. It was the boat he won the 2000 World Championship FLW in. Oh. And long story on that, but Lawson wrecked it, tore the nose off of it because he was like 12 or something and bashed it into a seawall, and Ranger refurbed it. I bought it from them, and it was my first real boat that I got to have. And breakdown, I couldn't go. So I called them up and I said, I can't make it. They said, like hell you will. Came down, got another truck, switched them out, went up there. So I thought to myself, this is a great opportunity for me to teach these kids on taking care of your boat. Because Guido used to always say that if you don't take care of your boat, you can catch all the fish in the world, but if you don't make it home, what the hell's the purpose? You can't weigh them in if you don't take care of your stuff.
True.
You don't have to go 70 miles an hour takeoff. You can go 66 and get to your spot just as good as you can at 72. Now, Dion thought things a little bit differently. He treated that a little bit differently. So we're up on Truman. And and if anybody knows Truman, we're around the corner at Long Shoal, a bunch of thickets and trees and lay down logs. And, 25 years ago was a lot more than there was now. So I'm explaining to these kids, you don't want to tear a petroleum motor. You got to be careful around your stuff because like Guido Hibdon used to always say, if you tear up your stuff, you can't get home. Man, out of nowhere, I hear this roar. And I mean, here comes this boat flying in. Of course, has to be Dion and the Chevrolet boat. And he shuts it down. And he hops over a big log and crashes in the water. And you see that thing rolling aside. He goes to another log. He's crunching through the trees. And the kids are all going, woo, yeah. My kids are looking at me like I'm a dumbass. And I said, he didn't pay for his boat. So, when you pay for your own boat, you got that problem. And I was like, damn it, dude. So I was like, later, I'm like, hey, man, I said, I'm trying to teach these kids something. This is what you did. And he's like, hey, man, don't fish out in Main Lake Point. You got to go where the fish are. He said, you need to teach them how to catch fish, not how to take care of the boats. And I'm like, damn it. So
it's kind of like do as I say, not as I do, you know?
That's right. That's right. But I mean, those kids, I'll never forget the look on their face. He was just, you see him on TV, you see the pros, they roll over a log, you know, and boats like almost sinks and pops up and they jump over another one. He's doing his kids in the boat and they're all like cheering it on like he's the baddest man on the planet, because he was, you know, I mean, he really was. And this putz is over on the other side, you know, telling his kids, take care of your stuff. You know, he's like, I mean, we're fishing with Grandpa today. This sucks. You know, we wish we would fish with Dion.
Yeah, they're like, I want to talk to that guy.
Yeah, I want to ride with him, man. You suck. You know, it's like, so I'm gonna lighten up from here on out and understand that you got to love the sport in all its elements. You know, and he's right. If you want to play it safe, you're gonna fish 50th. You know, if you want to win a tournament, you got to go where they ain't going. You know, you got to do something different they're not doing. And you know, he always said, I was in Pickwick, and we had fished Wilson and Wheeler, and we had locked through, and he always said, make locking a part of your day. You know, this is what you got to do. This is how you do it. If you only have a couple hours, it's the best place to do it. And on the final day, they declared Wilson off limits. So I'm screwed. We got no place to fish. So I call him up, and it was the day of his twin's birthday. It was Lawson and Connor's birthday. And I mean, they were little. And I said, dude, I'm in trouble. I said, you know what? They made Wilson off limits. I got no place to fish. What do I do? And he said, listen to me close. He said, bass is green. He swims sideways, and he makes babies, and he does the same thing in California he does in Florida. He said, you do what you do, and you go catch them. Go to work. Leave me alone. I got a birthday party. And he hung up the phone on me. So I always tell people the same thing. I'm like, listen, man, bass fishing isn't hard. They're green. They swim sideways. They make babies. And they do the same thing anywhere in the country. You do what you do to catch fish. Don't listen to those other guys. You know, you can get tips, but you got to go out there and apply it yourself. And when you find your groove, it's going to make you a great fisherman. And that's the words of Dion, not me.
There's a lot of truth to that for sure. A bass is a bass, you know.
That's right. Yeah. So, like, don't get caught up in the moment. You know, if the guy next door to you is catching them on a drop shot, doesn't mean you can't go to work with the jig. You just got to know where they live and go get them, you know.
I'm going to bring in JB. I see him lurking in the background. My co-host. What's going on, man?
Up, man?
Oh, not much, man. We're just sharing some good old Dion stories, man.
You James, you said something that, like, as soon as I walk down here in as they call it, my closet here, which it's not a closet. There's another room on this side. But you said something that Dion always talked about bass like they were people, right?
Yeah. And
they were true friends of his. Obviously, he had a handful of them out there at Lake of the Ozarks named. I'm 100% certain of that.
Maybe. Yeah.
But when we one of the first times that we had him on the show, he always talked about if he was flipping timber, if he was standing over there by that dock. And I never heard somebody refer to a fish standing by a dock.
Yep.
Standing.
He always said standing. It wasn't that he was swimming, he wasn't floating, he wasn't living over there. He was standing by that dock. He was standing on the dock pole. He was standing on that piece of timber.
Yeah.
And it was like, I've never heard anybody say that before.
Yeah, because if he's swimming, he's moving.
That's right. That's
you know,
right. He's standing
not laying
over there.
down. You know, it's just sometimes it's and like I said before, it's the delivery of the story that makes sense. You know, he's hanging out, man. He's waiting for a meal. That's an ambush point. That's where you go. You know,
he just made fishing from this big ball that we're trying to figure out the knowledge to, like, bringing it down to my 6-year-old's level. And he did
absolutely.
That. Didn't matter if you were 86 or 6. He did that to everybody. Brought it down to your level.
But it was still the high tech stuff we look for.
Right.
You know, it's still there. He just made it in a way where you go, oh crap, man, I knew that all along. I just wasn't, you try to make it too hard. You know, you try to analyze everything. You try to do it all. He's like, no, man, you're missing it. You know,
he's the reason I draw damn dots on my crawl on a jig with a spike it pin now.
Yeah.
And I take an albino fluke and I draw a chartreuse line down and I put a kill dot on it. Like, I take the stuff that I apply forward facing from what Dion taught me 4 years ago.
Right.
Like, and honest to God, like, never met the man face to face in my life, just through this screen, but how much of an impact he's had on Gabe and I. I mean, it's
sure. Yeah. I mean, it's, I tell on myself here a little bit. I think it was 2004, 2005. We were trading out boats and I got another boat from him. And, the first thing you do, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, But anybody to ever buy a boat from Hibdon, the first thing you do is turn electronics and pray to God that they didn't wipe off the waypoints. You know, that's the first thing. You know, right. It's like units on there, and I'm like, hot damn.
That's worth an extra couple $1,000, man.
Yeah, I said, it's freaking heyday, you know. And I rolled in there, and it's like, there's no waypoints, and I'm scrolling around like, there's waypoints, Thousand Islands, New York. I'm like, crap.
I'll never go there.
If anybody wants to go to Thousand Islands, I got waypoints from like 2005 still. You know, where they fish, but nothing at the lake. So I'm scrolling through everything, and you know, in those old days on Garmin, they had like all the statistical data, and on it, the max speed on this boat was 87.5 miles an hour. And I was like, what the hell? Now, Dion was a master. He could take 2 ball peen hammers. He could cup a prop by hand, and he could make a boat go. I mean, I don't know if anybody knows that. Those that know him knew that. He was an artist to tune a boat to run. And I'm like, I look back, and I got a hammer prop too. I'm like, this raker, we're going to fly, you know? Now, if anybody's ever owned a 520 Ranger knows that 67.3 is about all you can get no matter what you do to one. And let me tell you, I know that because I stripped this boat dry. I ran it out of gas. I did everything in the world to make this boat go. 67 miles an hour is all I could ever get.
Yeah.
So one day I drew up the courage and I said, Dion, I got to know something. It's driving me crazy. What's that? He said, got in this boat. And he said, I was trying to dig out and get all your data. And I said, max speed on boat's 87.5 mile an hour. I said, how in the hell did you do that? And he said, I didn't turn it off when I went down the interstate.
That Chevy V8 will run.
That's right. And I felt so dumb. But to kind of wrap it in perspective, you know, you can't overthink the situation and just understand what's right in front of you. You know,
right. It shows you he was going 87 in a 70 or a 65.
That's right. I was going home. And said, you know, what the hell? I was just getting the hell out of there. You know,
but at least it wasn't 103.
But he's like, dude, you know better. Boat ain't gonna do that. He's like, you know, get your head out of your ass. You know better. And I was like,
that's funny.
I know, but I just, you know, I thought I had like the baddest boat in the world. He's like, you don't. He said, you got a heavy ass Ranger. Go fishing. You know, like stop. So I was like, okay.
So once again, he was bringing it back down to common sense.
Yeah.
Oh, just it's common sense.
We were driving down 5 Highway one day. We're heading to Arkansas. I think we were going to pick up some tackle or something. It was irrelevant, but he was telling all the stories about the thousands of times he went down 5 Highway to go pick up Ranger boats. You know, if you're in Missouri and you're going down 5 Highway, you're going to go straight to flipping, go through all of that. And we're talking about it. And I said, you know, talking about our travels and what we're doing. And, you know, I said, you know, what's the craziest thing you've ever done? You know, he said, what's the craziest thing you've ever seen? You know, I thought and you know, this was kind of how the podcast kind of started too, because it's like, he's got so many stories. So here we go. What's the wildest thing you've ever seen? He said, you go first. And I'm like, oh yeah, I got you. I said, I was at Rayburn when Columbia crashed, and I saw it crash over the lake. It happened that day. We got out there. I said, you know, the military was there and all the stuff. And I said, it was wild. I said, you can't beat that. And he said, yeah. He said, I was in Florida when Challenger crashed. And I said, really? I said, we got 2 guys in the boat that both saw space shuttles crash while we were bass fishing. I mean, what are the odds, right?
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy.
And he says, is that all you got? And I said, you got more? He's like, oh, yeah. I said, well, what do you got's better than that? He said, I was in New York fishing at 9/11. And I went, what?
Dang.
And if you go back and do your research, the FLW championship was being held like on the 10th. The first day was like the 10th. And the Twin Towers got hit and everything went crazy. And they canceled the tournament. He said, and I think that's on one of our old podcasts, you go back and look, he said, I had that tournament won. He's like, I had Dad out there, you know, we were out there finding these amazing fish. It was incredible. And the canceled tournament. He said, but, and this is a story about Dion, you all need to know about him. The canceled tournament was all over, but there were 100 co-anglers that were stranded. They couldn't get home because they canceled all the air flights. There was nothing, nobody could get out of there.
Yeah, yeah.
So Dion and Guido both had motorhomes. They stacked like 15 co-anglers in each one and pilgrims across the United States and got them all back home. And contacted people along the way, had people take shifts and drive, and they all had this pilgrimage to help everybody get home because as far as they knew at that point, we were at war. We didn't know what was going on. You know, media was limited for them. And they were just out there in a motorhome with a bunch of guys in a truck trying to get home to their families. And they did everything they could to get them there. And that's just stuff like me. I mean, it makes me emotional, but it was, it's phenomenal stuff. You know, it's just the things that they did is crazy. So I'm like, well, crap, man, I can't top that. You know, So then we got to Sasquatches and all that kind of crap, and everything went from there. So, which we had that conversation too. So.
Yeah, I didn't know that story. Thanks for sharing.
See, yeah, we'll have to have like a whole. Like I said, you're gonna hear a lot of great stories. I saw you had Dirk coming on later, which, by the way, just for everybody goes in, he doesn't normally look that old. He looks incredibly old tonight. So Dirk, cut your hair, color that gray or something, because you look like hell, man. Get yourself fixed up. Jesus.
He's in the queue,
terrible.
Getting his goatee nice and straightened out.
He probably is right now. He's giggling. He's going to say some crap later about it, but he also can't clean crappie very well. He always leaves that rib bone in there, and he always gags everybody. Dirk can't clean fish very good either. So
I just toughen you up, man. It toughens you up. It's good for the soul. Yeah.
So we can sit here and we can talk for the next 3 days, and I can tell you all the stories that I know, but we got to stop at some point.
We got to have you back on. Then it sounds like we need to.
Yeah, come on anytime. Like I said, I can speak vicariously through it, but there's a lot of good stuff, and we had a lot of car time where we got to talk about stuff, and I can't be more grateful and blessed to be a part of it for a short period of time. It's amazing stuff. It really is, and I wish everybody got to see the person that Amy got to be with. It was super cool to be around. I share this a lot. I think it's been, 5-6 years, and I'm old, guys. I'm 55 years old now. And 4 years ago, I had a son. It's like, and everybody's like, "Hey, who's your grandson?" I know he's mine. It's like, shit happens when you get old. Sometimes
you got it, man. You got it.
But my wife worked. She was a teacher, and she worked at a bank, and so I took my 6-year-old son to the store every day, and Dion raised him. I mean, he stayed there with me, and when we were doing stuff, we take turns and put him on his lap. We watched TV together, watched shows. They took worms and did crafting and all kinds of crazy stuff. But I mean, you talk about a humble guy. He loved his kids, he loved his grandkids, he loved his family, and he loved my son. And it was, it was really special for me. So, sorry, I don't mean to get that way, but
oh, you're good, man.
Yep, it was really a magical moment in my life. I'm glad to be a part of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. So, but it's all good. He was really good to our family and all of them, and it was a magical moment, and I'm glad we all got to be a part of it.
I think you said it best, James. The fact that we got all of that in the short time that he was here.
Yeah, I mean it's nuts. I remember Dion always talking about his dad, and I don't think people realize that he actually started fishing in the 80s, like the late 80s. And, he had the classic like in 97, and then he got sick. But all of Dion Hibdon's accolades and stuff happened like within 15 years. He did an incredible lot of stuff in a really short amount of time. And if you look at the timeline, what they did, it's fascinating what people do in their entire career. They did in a span of just a short period of time.
Right.
It shows you how good they were at what they did. They just got in the game late, and Dion didn't, but people just don't realize he had a lot of issues he had to deal with. He faced diabetes, his entire life, and people don't know that he was on dialysis for like the last year and a half. He did, and he never stopped. He fished. He was hunting 2 weeks ago. He took his grandkids out and he was killing deer and he was doing his thing. And that's a guy that just wants to be out there doing it. And I'm glad he did it that way.
Yeah, James, you told a story backstage when we were talking before the stream, and I think this is probably a good one to end on before we bring Dirk here in a couple of minutes. About the tournament that you fished and how he caught 2 6-pounders off of one dock and his reaction to that.
We're fishing about a 6-well dock, and he goes around one side of the middle. He makes this insane cast. He swings and misses on one, goes back in and gets it, 6.5-pounder, put it in the boat. And just like any team, we're fist bumping, high fiving. He's yelling. There's some guys up on the hill going, "Is that a big one?" He's like, "Yeah, F yeah, man, it's a big one." He's like, we're cussing, we're spitting, we're having a good time. And Dion was always the guy where you sit down, you retie, you compose yourself, and you go again. So we go around the dock, the backside. He flips back on the other side. He catches 6.25. And of course, me, I'm like, "Need the net?" He's like, "Hell yeah, I need the net." Bag it in, and we're going again. We're high fiving, and he sits down, and I notice he's shaking. He's shaking, and I thought, man, I hope he's all right. I didn't know if he was like, like there was a problem, but he's shaking. He looks up at me and he gives this little weak smile and he goes, man, I'm going to tell you something right now. He said, you can win all the tournaments in the world. You can be a world champion. He said, but to do something like that, he said, dude, that's cool. He said, that's really cool. He was giddy and excited because it doesn't matter how much you've done and how much you've accomplished to catch fish like that. I mean, I told Amy this the other day. I said, that's what you dream. That's what you dream. You get to spend a day with a world champion angler. They pull that crap off. And he did it for me. And it was, I mean, it's a memory that I can never forget it. And it won't, because I have it on film. So, and I told you I'll send it to you later. You know, it's just, God bless a GoPro, you know, and I mean, yeah, who's going to ever get to, if I told that story to anybody else, they'd be like, no, he didn't. No, he did. It's right there. I got it, you know, and it's special. I mean, it really is. From the moment we took off, I realized the man could drive a boat like nothing I'd ever seen. Scared the bejesus out of me, but he could handle a boat. He could drive it like nobody I've ever seen. We run and gun and we covered water, and he showed me all the places that his dad and his family had always fished over the years. And then he whacked the crap out of monster fish, and we took everybody's money that day. I mean, how can you finish it any better saying that was the one tournament I got to fish with him? You know, it's like, I'm glad I never got to fish the second one, because now I can say we never lost one and never will again.
You're
undefeated. And we were awesome together. So even though it was one, I get that. You can't take that from me. So it's awesome.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
but he did it. I gave him crap. I caught 1 15-inch fish. Probably, and he thought I was full of crap, but yeah. I won the tournament for us. So
yeah. Well,
but that's cool stuff, guys. I mean, it's totally cool
is.
Stuff.
It's phenomenal.
And I'm sure somebody
stories.
behind me have a better story, but that's mine. I'm gonna take it. I love it.
That's great, man. It's great to know that he's caught hundreds of fish in the 6-pound range, and that was, you know, still like the very first one.
We did not catch a limit that day either. That was 4 fish. We won tournament on 4 fish. So yeah, because his third one was like the third fish he caught was like 5 3/4 or something, you know, and then I had a 15-inch fish. So I mean, you do the math on it. You know, we had like,
well, if it wasn't for that 15-incher, you couldn't have won.
That's right. That's what I said.
That was the key fish.
You got it, man.
I mean, a 2-time world champion couldn't get it done, couldn't put a limit in the boat. And
James,
and little you in the back of the boat. Here we go.
The little guy in the back to put it together. Yeah,
that's
right.
Yep.
We joked about that a lot. He didn't find it all that funny, but I thought it was pretty funny. That was good stuff.
I don't know what.
So yeah. So anyway,
the fact that a 2-time world champion, and this was probably a Saturday jackpot,
Tuesday.
A Tuesday jackpot.
It was a Tuesday day. Yeah.
Like a 2-time world champion got shook up over 2 6-pounders.
Yeah. Because it's, you know, you got to know that that's not an everyday thing. No matter who you are, you know. Right. And he wanted to make sure that I understood how important that was that day.
You got to appreciate the moment.
Yeah. He's like, dude, I said, you know what we just did? You know, it's like, you can't do that. You know, it doesn't happen every day. That's some badass shit right there. Excuse me, but it's badass. I mean,
that qualifies as what you just said for sure.
And it was like, somebody else can top that if they want to tonight, but I don't think they can. I mean, and they probably will. I'm just saying, you know, it was important to me, and it's great that I've got it. You know, I always tell people that calls, give me your email address, I'll send it to you. You know, it's like, I'm really proud of it. I'm the one back there scooping them up, and we're just like, and I just remember, I'm just like, I kept going, you got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me. You know, you got to be kidding me. He's like, hell yeah, man. You know, it's like, we're on it. You know, it's like, it's insane, you know, and just to see it, with him, it's so effortless. The second one, just going to back up a little bit. We both backlash, great big. We both skipped and hit the metal on the dock. So we're both picking out in the film, you know, he reels it up, he sends it in there and whacks the next one. And, you know, it's just like, holy crap. I mean, that's just awesome stuff. So
on fire.
Yeah.
On fire.
So Amy just sent me a text message saying she I was with him when he won his last tournament, but I think after that he won the William Warrior after that also. Because I think it was right after that he fished that next tournament, he won it too. I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. I think you're right.
Yeah, that was a benefit tournament, so it doesn't count. I won the jackpot tournament with him, so we'll take that. So.
You had the key fish. That's all.
Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah. Well,
James, we can share more stories. I mean, anytime you guys, let's do it again.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm imposing for an invite. Hey, let me come back on. Let's talk some more.
No, I'd love to hang out with you, man. I'm sorry we had to meet for the first time in this situation. And
no, it's awesome, man.
I really
like
appreciate you. Appreciate you coming on here and spending some time and sharing some phenomenal stories and stuff.
Yeah, I'm gonna stay on to see the crap that comes out of Dirk's mouth. So let's see what we got there, guys. I really appreciate the opportunity. Like I said, on behalf of Amy Hibdon, she said, you know, Dion really loved you guys for what you do, and she's grateful that you guys gave me the opportunity to be on the show. And I know you guys look at it differently, but you know, it's to give somebody the opportunity to speak is a good thing, and you guys keep doing what you're doing. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Appreciate you guys.
I really appreciate it. Have a good evening.
You too, man. Thanks.
All right. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. It's good to hear that Dion missed and actually got a backlash.
Yes. Yes. I didn't think that was possible. I didn't think that was possible, especially when we're skipping docks.
Exactly. We're all human, man, for sure. Yeah, so we're gonna let's bring in Dirk and bring in Chad. I got them back there in the queue, and we're gonna continue laughing and sharing some memories about Dion.
Laughing, crying, and loving it.
What's going on, guys?
How are you?
Chad, you're on mute, bud.
How's it going?
There we go. We're doing good. We're just man, some good stuff from James there. Just some funny stories. It's cool to hear some of that that inside stuff, you know, like the whole deal where 9/11 and Gator and Dion throwing a bunch of co-anglers that basically stranded, you know, loading them up and getting as many of them home as you can, because you don't hear about that. You know, the tournament, you hear like who won, you know, who finished top 10 and all that stuff, but there's always like stuff that's going on behind the scenes that you don't hear about, and it's good to hear about those kind of things. So thanks again to James for sharing that stuff.
Chad, I think you and I missed the memo on the big white Dion goatee tonight.
I got mine. Yeah, mine's white.
Yeah.
It's kids, man.
Yeah.
Kids.
They make fake ones you can put on just for the Dion look and the Sasquatch sign, just so you know. But I have personally been in the boat with Dion, and we have made multiple backlashes, just so everyone knows. So
thank you.
It is fully possible. But to Ryan out there, I have a full head of hair. I don't really know what he's got going on, but I'm pretty sure he is much older and much less hairless. See? There we go. So I may be the redneck out in the country, but I have more hair than Ryan has. So James is just going to have to hold it. So that's all. Coffee.
Good stuff.
I only covered up the ugly ones, brother.
Ooh, little few.
That's right. That's one of my one bald man jokes. So I'm good.
Yeah. So Dirk, I know you got to spend a lot of time in the boat with Dion over the years. What's you got anything jump out about, you know, some stories, some funny stories, some crazy stuff that you guys experienced together in the boat or off the water or whatever?
Not to top James any, but we fished many tournaments together, 7, 8. We never won one together. Because if we got on catfish or we got on hybrids, the bass were done, because these were Thursday night tournaments. These were weekend tournaments where we were trying to make sure Lawson won, or we really just weren't on them. So whatever was waiting, we would go for. And if you knew any Hibdon, whether it be Guido or Dion or Lawson, if it swims, they'll catch it. Like shiners, I've creek fished with Lawson for chubs. You know, bluegill fishing. Everybody knows Dion's tournament resume. Like, how can you top that locally here? Like, right. You can't. The guy's coming out of Missouri, but like, you have Guido's legacy first. And can you think of another son or sibling that was basically able to match their dad in any sport? Basketball, baseball. I mean, Dion might have exceeded Guido. And that's so rare to do, because everybody compares you to your dad, and the pressures of that is really heavy. And Dion stepped up and, like, he made it happen. And James was correct. Guido was one of my idols growing up, you know, gung-ho, but he was the finesse guy. Like, his little gets it when it came out, Starry Night stuff. I didn't know him real well then, but you followed him, you know, boat shows, TV, Guido was kind of everywhere. Dion was a brutal flip and stick, 20-pound test, whack him, hit him in the boat, and throw him in a live well guy. Like two polar opposites. He could fish with a spinning reel as good as anybody, but he wanted a flip and stick in his hand, and he wanted to smack him. Like, and it was a 9/16 jig, because I personally got to build a lot of them for both of the Hibdons to fish with. Football jigs. That was probably their neatest thing. How many of these top tournament guys were building their own stuff to win with? You know, the Hibdon clan, you had the Guido Bug, which was Dion's school project. You know, when he was in high school, he built the Guido Bug. Off of that, they won. Well, there were 2 Bassmasters Classic Championships won on it. I still have some of the originals. It was really kind of ugly, but it really caught him because it was one of the first baits out there that had a flat bottom. And Guido was all about, when a bait landed the water, you know, if it just falls straight down, it's not real natural because everything moves different in the water. So that flat bottom made that thing cork left or cork right or spin or spiral. And that's what made the Guido Bug what it was, because there really wasn't anything flat at that time other than a cream scoundrel worm, which was too long to actually make move, where that Guido Bug moved. But story-wise with Dion, I met him, you know, I'd known about him. I unfortunately had to compete against him. I never beat him at Truman. Like, the dude was a monster at Truman. I don't care if you had 35, he'd have 40. Like, you could have 5 10-pounders and he would beat you. Like, that was just Truman for a number of years with Guido and Dion. And Dion was not very nice to his boats. That is correct. He would run over anything to get to one. We put epically large Texas scratches in a boat just to land a 2.5-pounder. I mean, it did not matter. We were going to get to that fish. He held onto my shoelaces and pushed me across the dock in a tournament so I could reach around the dock. We're still on the boat, you know. He has a hold of me, shoving me. It helps to weigh 130 pounds with Bigfoot behind you, throwing you towards the fish. But we got him. But it was like, it was fully legal. And granted, that was a Thursday night tournament. James won a Tuesday tournament. Wow. We were in a 3.5-hour tournament. He was shoving me across the dock, trying to get splinters in my belly so we could land a 2.5-pounder. But to beat the 12 other boats that were in the tournament. And we still didn't win that one. No, we took second.
Still got the scars to prove it.
Yep. But I met Dion basically in 2006. Like, the Hibdons were a clan. Like, to get into the Hibdon fold, you had to be genuine. You had to be real. He only traveled with a couple guys. Kenyon, Peter T was traveling guys at that time. And I was just this little smart ass Lake of the Ozarks guy. I was kind of at that time, so I was real cocky, you know. And we got into the September BFL 2-dayer in 2006. And Roger Fitzpatrick and I, another pretty good fisherman in the Midwest. Like,
yeah, he's pretty decent.
Yeah, he's pretty decent. And stays that way. But we got on this bite, and it happened frequently. And we took first and second, or second, third together. And Dion was there at the weigh-in. And of course, I knew who all the Hibdons were, but didn't know them personally at the time. And Dion walks by and he's watching the weigh-in bags. And he's kind of in the background there a little bit, because you're always paying attention to them. They're the Hibdons. And Dion goes, "Those 2 guys have got something figured out." And I got to thinking about it, and I was like, how does he know that? Well, you know, when you get in a tournament line, this 2-day tournament, and the guy that's winning has 5 that are all the same size, like, you know, you're probably getting your ass kicked the next day. Like, because he doesn't have a big one. He doesn't have a small one. They're just all solid. And Roger and I had solid 3.5-pounders all the way through. Every one of them came out of the same mold, and Dion caught it. And then he's like, He said, "I think they caught him a little deeper than everybody else." Well, 2 of them were bellied up and they were puffed up a little bit. It was like, okay, he caught that too. So we got done with that weigh-in. Dion was there. I think Payton might have been fishing it, but I was kind of a big fall fisherman, known as crankbait guy. But we had fished with, I don't know where Roger got it. We've never had the story about how he figured it out, but I spent a lot of time on Table Rock with Bill Beck, the legendary guide that was down there for years. He passed away a couple years ago. Another fantastic guy. Dion loved Bill. They fished together on Table Rock quite a bit, but Billy and I had just come off Table Rock where we were catching like 55 foot deep on bluff ends. And that year, the flipping bite was real tough. You know, Lake of the Ozarks is known for docks and fishing really shallow. You can't get shallow enough, and that's the norm. And we got into the September deal, and there were no shad on the bank. And I kept moving out. And I mean, I was fishing 5 days a week, and I finally found them in like 40 foot of water. And at that time, a 3/4 ounce jig was maybe the biggest thing you could get. You know, there weren't all these custom jigs out at that time. So I ended up putting like a 1/2 ounce lead worm sinker in front of my 3/4 ounce football jig to get it down to those ledges. And I caught him while Roger was on the same bite. Like we would see each other hopping down. Of course, we didn't say anything. Got done with that tournament, and Dion was at the end of that tournament, and the whole family was there. Stella was there. Gator was there. And I turned to Dion, who was one of my idols, and I said, "If you'd like to go," I said, "I'll show you." And he goes, we don't take any help. You know, unlike a lot of other guys on the circuit, the Hibdons found everything themselves, never had help, and they figured all their own fish out. So if they won, they truly won. Like they didn't have waypoints, they didn't have guys taking them on the water. Like did not happen. The Hibdons fished the Hibdons. Now, Dad, you know, Guido and Dion fished together and shared their stuff, which is about as good as it got at that time. You know, for putting two brains together with a finesse guy and a power guy, they would figure it out just about everywhere they went. But so Dan's like, "Oh, thanks, I appreciate it, blah, blah." Well, he called me the next day and he said, "Were you serious?" I was like, "Yeah." I said, "I'm serious." I said, "I would love to get in the boat with either one of you." I said, he goes, "Well," he goes, it's getting later in my career a little bit. And he said, "It is so hard to win on your home lake." He goes, "I would love to win one at home." And I was like, "Well, I think I can help you." I said, "Because what we're doing is completely different." I said, "Nobody's on it." And I said, "It's just going to get better the colder it gets." So he shows up the next day. He's got his 2 flipping sticks. And he's like, "Let's go." I'm like, "All right." I said, "I got 3 things we're doing." He goes, "Let's go to the best and just get it over with." I'm like, "Perfect." So I roll out this bluff in, and I'm sitting way out off this thing. And he goes, "Are you just like idling out here because you don't want to pull up slow and scare the fish?" I'm like, "No, this is where we're going to be fishing." And he's like, "No, it isn't." I'm like, "Yeah, we really are." I said, "They're right here." I said, "There's a rock and 40 right here." I said, "And there's like 3 of them on it." I said, I was pretty good with just down imaging at that time. And I said, "They're here all the time." I said, "They've been here for 3 weeks." And I said, "You can pluck all 3 of them?" I said, "And then they reload because they're coming off the main lake." And he goes, "Yeah, whatever." I throw my jig out there, it hits the bottom. I said, "There's the big rock." And I start to pull over the rock, and the line just melts, like sinks. Dion goes, "Huh?" He pushes me out of the way, grabs my rod, gets on the trolling motor, and gets straight up over the top of that fish, and he's tugging on him. And he's like, "Holy shit, it's 40 foot deep." I'm like, "I told you they were in 40 foot of water." He's like, "Huh." So he whacks him, reels him up 3.5 pounder. He goes, "Huh." He goes, "Are there any more there?" I'm like, "Well, look down there." He goes, "Well, there's 2 more." I said, "Yeah." We backed off a little bit. He flips his jig out. It sinks, and then I see it pendulum back on the graph. I'm like, "What's up?" He goes, "I'm out of line." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "We only put like 25 yards on." He said, "We flipped docks, dumbass." I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, "Well, here, use mine." So he's like, we're going to have to think about this a little bit. I'm like, well, you'll just use my rods now. I said, for today. I said, so we jump one more spot, and I've got like 40 of them. Like, they are loaded. We go to one more spot, and I said, "Well, you ready to go to the 3rd one?" He goes, "No, I'm done." I'm like, "What?" He goes, "I've got everything we need." I'm like, "Really?" He goes, "I don't need any more of your spots." He said, "I just needed to see what you were doing." And he goes, "It's real." I was like, "Yep." So we come rolling back into the gravel ways where I grew up, and we stop on this bluff outside of Kaufman, and we're just kind of fun fishing it down. Well, Guido pulls up, and he's got Lawson in the boat with him, and Lawson is about half the size of a flipping stick, like little bitty dude. And we get about halfway down that bluff, and Guido goes, "Well," he goes, "Was he lying?" And Dion goes, "No, we're good, Dad." He goes, "We'll be just fine." He's like, "Really?" He goes, "Yep." He goes, "Well, that'll be a first." And we get about 20 yards farther down there, and I said, "You want to see me catch a 5 pounder?" And Guido goes, "Yeah, I'd love to see a 5 pounder." Dion goes, "You ain't gonna catch a 5 pounder." I'm like, $20 says I catch a 5-pounder on my next cast. He's like, you're on. There's my $20 bill. The only autograph I have of any professional fisherman is Dion Hibdon. And it says, "You sorry bastard." And it's the only thing I will ever keep of an autograph from any fisherman in the world is this $20 bill will go with me in the grave. When I get buried, this $20 bill will go with me. So I don't know if that beats James' stories, but that's one of my stories. So, but that's how I got to know him. From then on, you never lied to a Hibdon, and you kind of had to be real with the Hibdon, and you were in, like you were family. It was kind of a Ozark Mafia thing with the Hibdons. They let good people in and they booted bad people out. But you could be their most hated rival, but if they walked up with their kid and said, "My kid wants to go fishing," you guess who would jump in the boat with them? Gator or Dion would grab that kid and go right in the boat with them. It's just what they were. They both lit up when it came to kids. It was their favorite thing was kids. And they would, in 10 minutes, they would have that kid throwing a bait caster. Except my son. We could never teach my son how to throw a bait caster. He liked a spinning rod and he liked a rooster tail. And I mean, that would be another story that would go in with Dion took my boy and I'm in the boat and we're up the river white bass fishing. About every June, they get up on these certain points up there. And Dion, that was his favorite thing to eat. He would throw a crappie back to eat a white bass. And he would drive down to the lake if you had a 5 to 10 pound hybrid, and he would pick it up at the ramp and take it home. That's how much they liked white bass and hybrids. It was Guido's was a 12-inch Kentucky. Dion's was white bass. Probably his favorite thing to fish for. But we are up the river, and you had to get up. You know, the water's running, coming down, so the current's right, and you had to get just the right angle. And Dion would throw this quarter-ounce marabou up there, and he'd let it hit the bottom, and he'd crank it 7 times and let it hit the bottom and crank it 7 times, and he'd swing and set the hook and reel one in. Well, he's got my son on the front deck, and my son is a big, giant, goofy, Bigfoot dude. Like, I am 130 pounds. My son is 290 and 6'4" and wears a 15. Like, he is a beast.
Wow.
But yeah, he's a big dude. Great heart. But he is letting it hit the bottom, and he reels like 9 times. And Dion's looking at his reel, and he's like, "You know, I said 7, right?" He's like, "That was 7. It's like, "No." So for 30 minutes, I sat on the seat eating a sandwich, getting a math lesson on 7 cranks of a reel handle to 9 cranks of a reel handle. And I don't think my son ever caught one. Dion would take his rod, throw it out there, count 7 cranks, stop it, 7 cranks, catch one, hand it back. For 45 minutes this went on, and I don't think my son ever caught one. But Dion caught one every cast. And I'm pretty sure my son never got one to where he got it to 7 cranks. Like 9, 10, 11, 6, good enough. But it had to be 7. So that doesn't beat James either, but it's another good one. But we've been snagging multiple times. Like, I like the water times on the water where we weren't tournament fishing. I mean, there was a different mindset to anybody. We were all tournament fishermen. I mean, when you go fun fishing, it's a complete different mindset than when you put that shield on and go tournament fishing. Like, the non-tournament side was the greatest side of Dion. Like,
yeah, he was just a good old boy that wanted to catch fish, right? Like
anything and everything.
If it had gills and fins, it was meant for the boat.
Yeah.
Getting that
the
line
way
tight,
he was
man.
brought up, those guys didn't have a lot of money. I mean, you hear the stories of Dion growing up on Lake of the Ozarks trapping as a child. Like, they ran trap lines all night, like, and then caught catfish and netted and caught fish during the day anytime Guido wasn't guiding out of Mill Creek or Soap Creek. Like, it was 24/7. And if they weren't doing that, they were killing deer. And if they weren't killing deer, they were trapping beavers. I mean,
outdoor folks for sure.
Outdoor folks all the way through. I mean, I was pretty much a fisherman all the way through. I didn't do a lot of hunting, but if it swam or ran, they hunted it. And they've been all over the country doing it. I mean, I don't know how many countries Dion has been to fishing, but probably the Hibdons are probably the most beloved Japanese anglers in history. Like, any guy that came over from Japan, guess where they stayed? Guido and Dion's house.
Right.
Like, they brought the Japanese fishermen to the United States. Like, it was those guys. I know Dion went over there for 3 or 4 tournaments and never lost in Japan.
And when you say that, and you know Dion, and I wasn't privy to know Guido, but what you just said does not make any sense in the world at all that they would come to their house. But Chad's laughing over there, like, but one of our connections is going to be on later from Japan, and when I think, if I remember back, Gabe, correct me if I'm wrong, like the first show that we had June on, we had no idea he had any connection with Dion Hibdon.
No, we just learned that live.
He came on because of a spinnerbait video that Gabe did, 4 months prior, but we came on and he's like, oh, I was, and we had Dion on in the past, and he's like, oh, I was the interpreter for Dion when he came over for Daiwa. It's like,
yeah,
like, yeah. How random of a story is that when we have both of them on our show separately, didn't know each other, and
like all those guys were Hibdonites. Like there was not anybody else that brought the Japanese angler to America. It was the Hibdons. But Dion's got a story. They were over there, and you all know Kentucky Lake and the yellow flower deal. In May when the bushes got yellow flowers on them, you're flipping bushes.
Absolutely.
Well, Dion gets over there, and Guido, and they've got a huge following in Japan. And I don't know if they're doing it for Ranger or Charger. It wasn't Daiwa at the time at that one. And they had a tournament on Daiwa. And all these Japanese anglers, they lined up at that time, and they would stick the hook in the left side of their fluke to make it go 8 inches to the left, or they put it in the right side, because these guys were neck and neck with each other, like shoulder to shoulder. Dion said there'd be 10 guys fishing 1 point. Like that's what the Japanese lakes were like. And he goes, they get into this tournament, and Dion said, we're running around. He said, we've got 300 boats following us. And he said, he's driving down the lake, and he said, he looks in this little pocket, and he goes, there's yellow flowers on this bush. He said, he roars past everybody and rolls right up there, pulls out a flipping stick. And he said, I looked right at the base of the bush, and he said, there sat a 6-pounder. He goes, so I just flipped the jig up there, whacked a 6-pounder, threw it in the boat. And he said, drove around the lake for the rest of the day, and he said every yellow flower had a 5 to 10 pounder on it. And he said pretty much railed him. I think he won the tournament by 35 or 36 pounds, like in 2 days. But yeah, he said all these guys are using 3.4 pound tests, and they're rigging their little drop shotty thing here or whatever. He's roping them a 25 pound test strand in yellow bushes. And he said,
if that doesn't describe the Hibdons, like nothing does. But
he was like Thor with a hammer. I mean,
but what did James say earlier? One of the greatest Dion quotes that I've heard: "A bass is a bass.
Standing.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it's
standing over there underneath that bush.
But it doesn't matter if you're in California, in Japan, or at Lake of the Ozarks, or Kentucky Lake. There's something about yellow flowers that largemouth bass like. They're going to stand underneath them, and you're going to catch them.
Yep. And a bass is a full bass, but he loved Japan. Like they love the Japanese anglers. I think he fished in Spain or Italy also. And they fished for a different weird bass. He said they kind of bit the same lures, but I forgot what they were fishing for, but he won that one too. But it didn't matter where he went. I know he fished on the international team a couple of times against the Lenders. I think he got beat by the Lenders out of Canada on one, and he wasn't real happy about it, but he loved the Lenders because those guys were, you're competing against smallmouth guys, but Dion was very successful on the smallmouth side too. Like they went up there and they won up east too, which is, that's hard to do against those guys. Like without, forward facing sonar, those fish out there, heck, they could be 400 yards off the bank, can't see the shoreline, and they're on a rock pile the size of your boat. I mean, and those guys would spend days idling with 2D sonar to try and find those. Cause like I said, one of their biggest deals anytime they were on circuit traveling anywhere around the lake was buoys. I would hate to imagine how much money Guido and Dion won with a marabou jig in the wintertime on Lake of the Ozarks throwing it no wake buoys. Like it was incredible how many fish sat on buoys.
I've heard that. I've been hearing that, and I need to take advantage of that a little more.
You do, because they will sit lined up on those buoys.
Yeah. Well, we got about 10 more minutes here before we bring in the next set of guests, and Chad's been sitting over there patiently.
He has just patiently waiting. He doesn't like to talk though, so
he's gonna have to share a little bit with us, man.
Absolutely.
Give us a little background on how you met Dion and something.
So I met Dion, I don't know, 15, 16 years ago. Dirk introduced me to them. Dirk and I fished together. I never got to bass fish with Dion. We have caught a gazillion crappie, a gazillion white bass, enough where we couldn't close the live wells, and enough we thought we were going to jail. But we didn't care. And Dirk's experienced that too, so I got to crappie fish.
Only on private lakes, though, Chad.
Yes, this is only on farm ponds.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
But man, when you're with him and crappie fishing, everything is fun. It's just fun to be in the boat with him crappie fishing, but it's weird. When I met him, I don't know, I was young, a lot younger. Dirk took me over to the shop their first time. And I think the first 4 or 5 times I was over there, I never said a word. Like, you know how you look up to somebody that you want to be like?
Yeah, starstruck kind of.
And you don't even want to talk because you're listening. Like, literally sit there for 8 hours while Dirk's pouring jigs and Dion's pouring plastics or cutting tubes. And they're telling every story from whenever. And it was just an amazing time. The Hibdon family is the purest family in the world. Like, the times I've talked to Dion was not about bass fishing. It was about family, friendship, having fun fishing, but it was never about tournament fishing. And the most giving person, he's helped me win a few events, helped me in a 2-day super tournament that, he was in the back of the cut and I was at the beginning, and I told him a story that I kept seeing all these fish flash at my bait and I could not get them hooked. And he drove all the way back home to get me some baits, and I'd love to name them, but I'm not going to. And the next day I finished second place, all because of the little knowledge that he had told me. Even though we were competing against each other, it didn't matter. He wanted everybody to do better and everybody to do good.
So he had enough experience. He'd seen that scenario enough times.
Yeah,
he knew exactly what was going on.
He'd come over to my boat and I was just venting vulgarly, probably. Like, it should have been an epic day and it wasn't. And he goes, typical Dion fashion, like, I got you covered. Here's what you need to do, And it took me a couple hours, and I finally I probably need to listen to somebody like him, and instead of me, being hard-headed. And,
right.
And, I did it and, was successful at it or whatever, but just an always giving person. The whole family was always giving. I don't know how many, and Dirk can probably say the same, how many baits, like when they tell a story, it's funny. They start telling a story about yellow flowers or whatever. And, then they go to the garage and they're like, here, you guys need a bunch of these, just in case you ever get in that situation again. And I don't know. I mean, Dirk probably has plenty too, them little tiny chuggers. Like,
the Stella collection. Yeah.
Yeah. But one time we were over there, and I think Dion or Guido gave me a couple tiny chuggers, and it was out of her collection. And I thought she was going to cut us or punch us, or she was mad because she collected them. And they were giving them out to us to go
you
fish.
Did not want Stella mad at you. Like,
no.
That was not an option. Like, she was the king. Bar none, it was Stella. I talked to Dion one day, and he had years ago you wore the tournament vests, with all the patches on them, and
right.
Dion was there, and I was like, hey, I said, I could use some Poe's crankbaits, because at that time David Fritz was the big deal, the cranking thing, and that was another one of my idols because I was a crankbait guy. And Dion looks at me and he goes, what do you mean you want some Poe's crankbaits? I'm like, I'd really like to get some Poe's crankbaits. He said, I don't know where to get those. I'm like, well, it probably helps because you got that Warden's patch on, who owns Poe's crankbaits. He looked down and he goes, oh, that's Mom. He said, I don't even know what I wear. He said, she sews them on, I put them on, and I go fishing. It's like, okay. So didn't know half the sponsors. I mean, but no harder boat show workers than Guido and Dion. I mean, they would do 70 to 80, for Chevy, and Lucky Strike at that time was the big deal, but nobody worked harder at boat shows than Guido and Dion. The draw those two guys had, because they were by far the two best storytellers ever to bass fish. I mean,
as you just said that, Dirk, it struck Dion and Guido memory, and I lied. I have met both of them face to face, and I don't know if you were there. Little old Southeast Missouri here, they came down and fished a benefit tournament on Duck Creek, right? At Duck Creek, which is a 1,000 acre square lake that's 8 foot deep. You can walk across right now because it's drawdown for duck season.
And it didn't have many fish in it.
No. It's got a ton of fish in it. They're just hard to catch.
Yeah. Really?
Oh, yeah. And it's lily pads and cypress trees.
Oh, that'd be perfect.
And it was Dion, Guido, John Sappington, and I've never seen anybody cast like those three.
I'm
talking like 40 feet away. The bait was this high off the ground or off the water from the time that it left the boat to the time that it got to that cypress tree and went boop, and it never made a ripple.
Yeah.
And it's like, I was a kid at the time, but they drove 4.5 hours across the country just to fish this one day benefit tournament.
Yeah.
And hand out a couple fishing reels and some baits to some nobody rednecks in Southeast Missouri and drive all the way back home. Like, you talk about the giving of the Hibdon family. Like,
yeah. I mean, I have seen them at tournaments years ago when like Lawson was little and Connor was little. They would fish this, what used to be the Highway 5 tournament on Lake of the Ozarks. It was a 2-day event. They gave away a bass cat boat at the end of it. I mean, I'd won it like 2 years in a row because it was cranking time. And they come wheeling in to the back of, where was it, Chad? It was the back of right below Sean. Yeah. No, when it was down low. Backwater Jack, no.
Yeah.
I can't think. But they're idling in, and there's tournament guys on the docks, and they're going, well, those damn Hibdons. He goes, of course they're here. He said, we shouldn't have to fish against pros, blah, blah. Well, word gets back to Dion and Guido. They were fishing with 4-year-olds, their grandsons, and sons. So they really weren't catching them, but they both released their fish that day because guys were bitching about 2 world champions fishing that tournament. They shouldn't have to fish against them. And they had fish that would have done exceedingly well in the tournament, and they let them all go just to stop the hype and to stop the discussion. I mean, that's the kind of guys they were. They dumped fish back so that there wouldn't be any bad karma or any more bad thoughts about it. But I'm like, you guys are serious. You get to fish against a world champion in a $150 entry fee tournament, and they're fishing with 4-year-olds. And sorry if you can't beat them. I mean, you both got rods. So it kind of blew me away on that. And that happened more than once. I mean,
yeah, but like those are the stories that nobody hears about.
Correct.
That everybody was complaining and bitching and moaning about it, but
yeah, and they dumped them back.
We didn't catch it. And I bet and knowing as little as I know, they probably went there. Yeah, we just didn't get them today.
That's exactly what they said. And then Guido was emceeing the event. Like, I have a newspaper article in Jeff City where Dan Bowman and I were holding up 4, and Guido's holding up the 5th one in between us. And it was a massive sack of fish, like 24, 25 pounds. And this is like right after the fish kill, 90, 91. And Guido's right there in the background. And I've got it framed in the garage, but it's about the only really neat picture I've got with Guido. I spent a lot of time with him, but you don't, like, James has got a lot of video with him. I'm the most, as Chad can tell you, I can barely run a cell phone. So my experiences are all in my head, and in my mind, and stories. Like, I could write them down into a book, but this is about as advanced as I get looking at a screen like this. So, and if I touch a button, I'm probably going to mess something up. So just,
Well, we're gonna move in the next round of guests. I know we can go on for hours telling these stories. They're just fun to hear. But,
weeks like James, we could roll.
But man, it was good. It was good meeting both of you guys. And thanks for spending some time talking about Dion, sharing a few stories. Sorry for the loss. Everybody else says that, but sometimes there's really nothing else you can say. And probably the best way to honor somebody is to get on there and talk about some of the stuff that most people don't know, those kind of backstories and stuff.
Yeah.
Just really appreciate you guys coming on here tonight.
Well, just one more thing. I mean, everybody knows we lost Dion, but you know, we've had a chance to lose him 3 times in the last 2 years. Like, he has been near death twice, like not going to make it over the last 2 years in 2 other episodes. And Amy Hibdon has kind of been the angel that's brought him back out of all of this stuff. So you want an Iron Woman, Amy is Stella. Like, without Amy, we would have lost Dion 2 years ago. I assure you, 2 years ago, we would have lost him if Amy wouldn't have been who she is. So
yeah,
Amy's the angel, just so everybody knows.
And Amy is also responsible for Dion being able to set up any kind of electronics so he can get on and do these live streams. I saw it firsthand.
Oh, yes.
It's several times where he's like, Amy, come here. Something's wrong with this thing. I can't hear you.
Amy's a teacher. She can multitask, and she's really good with me because she does a lot of special ed kids. So she and I got along great. Like,
right. Yep. It takes a village, man. All right, fellas. I appreciate you coming on here and hanging out. It's nice meeting you. You guys have
the same
great evening, and best of luck to you guys.
You too.
We'll see you on the water.
Guys. All right.
Man.
Good stuff. Well, let's bring in the next round. We got.
Hold on before you end. Like,
yeah, definitely.
I'm just blown away. Like,
there's a lot of stories to be told. There's a lot of just the whole Lake of the Ozarks scene, man. I mean, there's so many people down there that have stories to tell and just good fishing stuff, you know, just good juicy fishing stuff. So let's bring in we got Andy and we got Bo. What's going on? Look at you, man. Y'all like a gangster, man.
What's up?
What's up? What's up, Bo? How's it going, buddy?
Oh, try to get the quietest place I got with a 2-year-old fighting sleep and wood furnace going. So hopefully it's not too much back noise.
We can't hear you.
No, it's fine. I know I don't have any young ones, but at one time I did have some young ones, so I completely fully understand.
And Mama's 7.5 months pregnant too, so you just go down here in a little hole.
We'll be real quiet.
Congratulations, man. Got another one on the way. Things are changing, huh? At the Harris household.
Oh, they are moving. Absolutely.
Yeah, you go from having all the free time in the world, and then you have kids, and you're like, man, what did I do with all my time? Things get serious right off the bat.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah. Well, so you guys have been in the queue kind of listening. We've just been kind of sharing a few stories here and there about maybe the first time we met Dion or some of the funny things that have happened out in the boat. I don't know if anything comes to mind, you know, if you want to share with us.
Yeah, so I mean, I couldn't tell you the actual first time I met Dion because I know I've met him before I started fishing BFLs and everything like that. It's in little local derbies and stuff. I fished against Lawson since, I don't know, 2013, 2014, and he was always there to support Lawson. So, known Dion for quite a while. The first memory that really stands out to me is the first year that I fished BFL, the super tournament. I finished 4th place, and the guy right below me was and so we got a chance to stand there. Back then they rode you for top 10 in order. So I got a chance to stand there and talk with somebody that I've looked up to my entire life on the way in line. And, you know, he was always just like he'd known you since birth. You know, the first time you meet him, it's just the kind of guy he was, and always willing to give advice. And I learned a lot from him just that day in the wedding line, and it just evolved from there. And he's somebody that I considered a friend. And anytime you needed anything, you know, he was there. We have that Missouri Invitational golf and fish thing here, and the first year I did it, I was real green. I had been fishing BFLs for 1 season, and the second night you're on your own for dinner. So I'm standing there, and Dion comes up, and we start talking about the day. And said, "What are you doing today?" said, I have no idea. Probably going to McDonald's or something. And he said, no, you're not doing that. Hop in the truck. So I got in the truck with him. It was him, Lawson, Hayden, their families, Mark Tucker, another Elite Series, standout for years and years that gone too soon. And we all went, and Dirk was there. We went and ate Mexican, and I got to hear about all their stories growing up, and it's just crazy how quickly you felt like family around Dion.
Yeah. Hey guys, is somebody playing like the live stream in the background while they're on it? Because we're getting a little bit of feedback somehow.
I really have no idea.
Not on my end.
Not on your end. Okay. We're just getting a little bit of a
like an echo.
Somebody in the chat was
back
about it.
Gotcha.
Let me I'm gonna mute you, Andy, just to see if it's coming from your end.
Go ahead and talk, Bo.
Yeah. You hear
I
me?
think it might be coming from Bo's.
Hello?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
I gotcha. Let me see here. Yeah, can you hear me, Andy?
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, okay. It's coming from Bo. Hey, Bo, do me a favor. Click out, X out of the link, and then come back in and maybe see if that fixes it, because we're getting some feedback on your end. We want to make sure we got these stories coming through loud and clear. Just close it out and then come back in. We'll see if that fixes it.
Did you guys hear anything I said?
Yeah, we got you. It was just
sometimes that happens.
Yeah.
So we got
technology, man.
It's lurking in the queue. What's going on, buddy?
Extra low budget.
Jack's frozen now. All right, you're back now.
Is that any better now?
I think so. I think it's a little bit better.
If it's that wood stove, I can kill it.
No, I think it sounds good now. I think everybody out there in the queue, let me know. It is making a little bit of noise now.
It's like a reverb that's coming back through.
It's probably from that wood stove. Let me shut it off real quick.
Okay.
You're gonna freeze the baby out and mama.
Yeah, you got to keep them kids warm, for sure.
I'm just happy that mine's not running right now. It's cold out there tonight. It's blowing like 40 here at the house. So
yeah, we're in this little cycle of nice during the week and cold towards the weekends.
Yeah,
I know. It's
we're both off on Monday, and we were debating a fishing trip, and
it was beautiful. I fished that Angry Pirate tournament yesterday. It was gorgeous.
Well, I'm talking Monday. No, Monday coming up.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah, it's gonna be cold.
Yeah. Things have changed. We're trying to get it. We try to go down to bull shows sometime in the winter, and I just happen to have like a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday lined up this upcoming Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, and I've been looking at that for like 2 or 3 weeks, and it's not going to happen. I don't do like 12 years in the morning, and I can't do that, man. It's too
Monday low is 10 here.
Yeah,
I'm out.
Yeah. So Andy, I'm sorry. You were talking about the invitational, and I got kind of a little bit distracted. Can you share a little bit of that again, or?
Yeah, no, I was just saying, that first year I fished that Missouri Invitational, I was still real green. I had only fished, a handful of BFLs at my one season, and I was talking to Dion, and we were on our own for dinner, like the second night or whatever, and we were talking about our day, and he goes, "Well, what are you doing for dinner?" And I said, "Well, I'll probably run to McDonald's or Taco Bell or something." He said, "No, you're not doing that. Hop in the truck." So, hopped in the truck with him, the boys, their families. Like I said, Mark Tucker was there, Dion, Dirk, the whole crew, and had a good dinner at a Mexican restaurant, and it's just amazing how quickly you feel like family around Dion and the entire Hibdon family. Honestly, they really bring you in and make you feel like you're part of something with them.
Yeah, and I think that's I remember I fished a tournament down there. Oh, this has been years ago. I can't remember what tournament it was, if it's the Bash or whatever, but I remember going to, I think it's Half Sauce, one of the barbecue places that was down there, and I just walk in there and there's the whole Hibdon family just sitting there, just being normal people out doing normal family things. And I was sitting at the table and I kept looking over there and I'm like, that's freaking Dion, man. I just kept looking over. I was like a kind of the creepy guy that kept looking over there every once in a while. And I was just shocked to see him just out eating barbecue like everybody else was doing on a Friday night or Saturday night. So, yeah, Jack, can you hear us? You're freezing up again.
Am I in?
Yeah, you're in now. I had you muted there. Sorry, bud.
Or are you still getting feedback?
I think it's better now.
Okay, like everything's shut off. So
yeah, we're good. We got 10 minutes until icicles start hanging from the ceiling.
I kicked
the light. See if that fixes it.
Got dual fuel here, but yeah, that wood heat goes a long ways.
Yeah. Well, Bo, I know I think the last live stream that we had with Dion, we were talking about, we always go and take a deep dive into jig fishing, of course, which makes sense because that was Dion's favorite bait to be thrown around. And he got to talking about, Bojangles, the Bojangles trailers and stuff. So I know he's played an integral part in your company over the last year or so. So what's the backstory on you? How'd you become acquainted with Dion?
So like Chad had said, Dirk introduced him. Dirk introduced Lawson to me. And this is when I had the baits down in this in this basement, like over in this area.
Okay.
I don't know, 20 by 12. And I had pegboard all around this wall. And Lawson walked in and he's like, let me get some of this, that, whatnot. And I was like, how about not? Let's see if we might work on something down the road, give it a shot. At this point, I started with crappie because that's what I've known. But lo and behold, here comes the Hibdons. And here we go on a deep dive into a rabbit hole of jig trailers and worms and all kinds of stuff. Because we always try to zombie, make your own thing, try this, do that, take this piece from that and see what might work. That's kind of how we've developed the things that we brought forth with everything. But yeah, I met Lawson down in my basement 4 years ago, and things quickly escalated. And I had made in that post how this started as a business adventure. They're going to birthday parties, I'm going to their birthday parties, weddings, the whole shebang. Like, it quickly was family in no time. And here people are like, you fish with it? I'm like, yeah. I realize that is a big deal, but this is like a common everyday thing. And I never took that advantage of that, but it was a blessing for sure, because not only did I get to fish, I got to learn. As long as you paid attention, because you had Dion, he'd tell you everything. He'd tell you all the little details, but then you got Lawson, he don't say nothing. So if you ain't paying attention, you got to pay attention to one of them. One of them's going to tell you something. The other one's just going to do something. So, and them two in the boat, good gosh. You talk about cut from the same cloth. It was hilarious to just sit there and listen. Because Dion would just say, maybe this or maybe that. But Lawson would hardly ever say anything back. And he just keep going about. And then Dion would be like, well, maybe right over here, or maybe do this. And Lawson just say a thing. And we'd always do that for practice and everything. But I'll tell you, if the crappie were biting, Dion was done bass fishing. Give me a cork. Let's catch some crappie.
I'm kind of gathering that from the program tonight is how much he enjoyed crappie fishing.
We missed out on the all those times we had him on. We missed out on the crappie talk.
Oh gosh, I think honestly he'd rather go crappie fishing than he would bass. Down, later in life, it was just more fun, more pleasurable. What was crazy with Dion is how well he could still execute skipping a jig or a worm. And he'd even do it leaning on the seat in the back. And he'd still somehow get this little momentum, and he'd still shoot her under there about 20, 25 feet. And I'm like, You can't even, he didn't have his normal strength, but you are still able. I mean, and he, a lot of guys will skip with a little stiffer rod. Dion had like a medium, and he just shoot that thing up under there. I'm like,
one-handed too.
Yeah, and the craziest thing, their backhand roll skip. Dion he was still doing that last year. And he'd get in a rhythm. You want to talk about deadly. That was dirty. I mean, that was a beauty to see. And it just keep going. Then about 10 o'clock, hey, I need a snack. I got to take a break. You run trolling motor. He'd had to give him a little candy bar or something. But that the last Warrior Williams, him and I fished last year. You want to talk about his eyes lighting up when he caught that. It was like 6'6", 6'7". But we only had 4 fish. We ended up winning it because we had a giant to go with 3 little rats. But oh gosh, I'm pretty sure I seen him do a little happy dance during that when he caught that thing. Oh, it was beauty. And what was nice, he's like, I'll just kind of flip it here, and it cracked it on the way down. And he was so giddy. That it was fun to see a man that has caught millions of bass, and he still lit up and got so excited about that. So he didn't. Now, God forbid if he walked in fish over to the weigh-in. So yeah, take it over there, Skinny, and run him over there.
He's giving you all the glory walking across the weigh-in stage.
Yeah, I carried all that water and the weight.
He made sure he filled that bag up extra good too for you.
Oh, then he's like, hey, we're gonna take a picture right here. I'm gonna sit in the boat and take a picture, and then you go you go do the thing.
Hey, there ain't nothing flat at Lake of the Ozarks.
Yeah, no,
it's all uphill both ways.
Oh Lord,
especially PB2. Good God, that walk from the docks up the stairs and up to the weigh-in trailer. Well, I mean, Red Oak is no better.
No, and PB2 in the winter is even worse.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that's how that all came about. Dirk introduced me to Lawson. I took a shot in the dark, and we got to the relationship and the brand building and the bait development and all that in 4 years from just on a whim.
Gotcha. What about you, Andy? Did you get a chance to fish in the boat with Dion?
Never got to spend any time in the boat with Dion. Nope. All our relationship was in person, talking, or a couple times on the phone. Just never got that opportunity to go. I was always fishing against him, honestly. So boo for me. But it's okay. I would have loved to have spent a day in the boat with him. But I think just getting to know him and getting to be around him and getting to see just how he put his boys at the forefront always. He was Dion Hibdon, but anytime you saw them together or them fishing a tournament together, or even if he was fishing with, Connor and Lawson was fishing with Dirk or whatever, it was always about everyone else. It was never about Dion. And I think that's what I'll remember most about him.
He always lifted others up.
He did. He really did. And he loved seeing his boys catch fish and do what they like to do.
Every time he was on, it was always about the boys.
Always was.
He was more worried about them doing better than him.
Oh yeah.
100%.
For sure. Yep.
Yeah, I remember being at PB2. It's probably a couple years ago, and Dion wasn't fishing, but he was down there sitting at the picnic table waiting to see what kind of weight Lawson was bringing to the scales. He was always there. Just he was just as big a part of the community scene, whether he was fishing the tournament or not.
Yep. And he was usually, if it was a bigger tournament, he was on stage before weigh-in, keeping everyone entertained until the bags started coming in. He was just so good at that. So good at entertaining people. He was born with the gift of gab for sure. and knew how to use it.
What's going on, Jack?
Hey, can you guys, I can hear you.
Yeah, you're coming in loud and clear. Yeah, you were just kind of freezing up a while ago. Technology.
Man, it was horrible. I was using my laptop and now I'm using my phone. So it's all good, I guess.
Yeah, it sounds great. So we were just kind of talking about, how the fellas on the other end met Dion and a little bit of background history. What's your history with Dion? How did you guys first meet?
Well, I mean, first off, I was just like a fan of his. I mean, back in the 90s, man, reaching back to the Team Iowa days, I just started working in the fishing business and I was looking up to all the guys. It was back then it was Dion, his dad, Guido, and Denny Brower and Rick Klund, and all these guys were from Missouri, And I'm just this kid. I'm like, wow, these guys have done all this stuff. And they don't live in Florida. They don't live in Texas, and Larry Nixon was a part of that crew too. But I remember having a poster, up on the wall and like looking at it all the time. Like, these guys are doing it right here in Missouri. It's not like they're somewhere far away. I mean, this is obtainable. And, so that's where I really started like following him. And right after that, he won the Classic. And then a little bit after that, I started working at Bass Pro Shops with Stick. And, Stick was always hanging out with the Hibdons and going up to their shop and like making jigs. And they made all kinds of things, really. They had all kinds of stuff that they would create in their shop. And then right about then is when he won that Forest Wood Cup. And that was a big deal. I mean, I'm not sure how old Dion was when he was winning those things, but he was in his 30s, I want to say. And I mean, he was just at the top of the game, I mean, and, he never had a big ego like some people do, even though he deserved to have an ego. And I'm sure he had like a little bit of an ego, but he would still talk to you guys, I remember having a phone call with him a long time ago. And a little bit after that, I remember, we were at Kaufman Beach Boat Ramp one night. We both took out. It was about this time of year in January, but it was like a warm night, and we just BS'd at the boat ramp for like 2 hours in the middle of the night, pitch black, just talking, and I don't know. He was just, there's so many different stories with Dion. He's such a good guy, Yeah, all the Missouri Invitationals. He always made a point to come over and talk. And there were several times where I was like doing some sort of like there was like a tournament going on, and I'd be there to just talk a little bit, and Dion would be like there, and he was a true superstar. I just had some fishing information, but Dion had everybody laughing and cracking up, and he had so much humor in his delivery and his, sometimes they were the same old stories, but he had so many stories of being on the road for so many years. And man, he was definitely, an idol growing up, basically.
It seems like he was always on, like when it was his time to be on a live stream or be in front of an audience, he just kind of went into like Dion mode, and he just always had the stories, always had making people laugh and making people, feel warm.
Yeah, Neon Dion. That's what they used to call him.
That's right. I remember that, Neon Dion.
Yeah. He was kind of a generation of professional anglers that were also entertainers. He kind of started that trend, which we've kind of gotten away from now. But we had several of the biggest names in fishing they were superstars because of their personality, along with they could catch them. And I feel like Dion was the epitome of that.
Yeah, he had the cool shades. He always had. I think Solar Bat Sunglasses was one of his sponsors, and I mean he had a cool look.
Yeah, you're right. You nailed that, Andy. That is something that's changed. The entertainment aspect. I mean, there's still a little bit out there, but it's not like it used to be, unfortunately.
It's not the up and comers that are out there. It's not.
Yeah, the entertainers are probably retiring. You know,
yes.
And, you know, obviously, you know, Dion's gone now, and Ike and Ellie's towards the end of his career. Whether you love him or hate him, but you know, all those big personalities, KVD, you know, they're slowly leaving the game.
Well, you know some of those guys not only because of their tournament resume, because there's a lot of guys that have really, really good tournament resumes that nobody knows about.
Right.
But there's a lot of those guys out there that don't have a great tournament resume, but you know about because they're loud. They're either the good old boy, one that makes you feel like your granddad fishing with you, or they're the one that you love to hate, right?
Yeah.
I could tell stories about my dad. You know, this Ike and Ellie kid, I don't really like him. Like, but this I don't know how many Dion Hibdon stories I heard from my dad growing up. Like, just from watching him, that was one of my dad's idols. So
yeah.
I wonder what Dion thought about Ike and Ellie.
Gabe, did he ever tell a story on our show about Ike?
No, but he did tell.
Maybe it was after hours.
He told a couple stories backstage in the green room about certain people that he had altercations with on the water. Or there was a little business deal that went sideways, or, you know, the kind of stuff that, you know, just kind of keep it between the people that are talking behind the scenes. So
it's kind of like James said earlier, some of our best conversations that I remember with Dion weren't when it was live.
Yeah, they were the hour after the show, talking for an hour after the show. That's when the good juicy stuff comes out, man.
Yep.
Yeah, he had several stories of boat ramp altercations, you know, after tournaments with guys. You know, where he was being chased over at like Dardanelle one time, or he was chasing somebody, or something was going on. He had all kinds of stories.
He's very much a good old boy. Dion was the best person in the world, unless you did him wrong, and you did not want really any of the Hibdons, you know, you didn't want to be on their bad side, along with Tucker, who used to travel with them and all that, and just that kind of group. It was, if you were in with them, it was great, but you know, just don't get on their bad side.
Oh, especially Stella. She might have been the worst out of all of them.
You know, the one story that comes to mind, and everybody that's came on has reminisced, and I like I said, I don't know, I wasn't blessed to spend a lot of time around him, but the one story Dion told this story, and it was back in the Kenyon and Peter T and traveling, and somebody got, and Guido was still traveling, and somebody got the bright idea to get one of those chrome naked lady stickers.
No, it was
on the
like
back.
Yeah, go ahead.
On the back of like a big old semi truck, where the ladies like all sprawled out, and they put them on the inside of Guido's live well lids, and Guido didn't know it,
with adhesive.
And you can only imagine. And Guido wasn't, from what I've been told, Guido wasn't a very boisterous man, and I don't think any of those three boys slept without an eye open for the next couple days, because I think Guido opened them up and he realized that they were there.
He was going through the weigh-in line, you know, like the idle by and the guys on the dock. Okay, let's look in your live. That's
right. It was the morning of, like,
he flipped them up, and it was too late to do anything different. They were exposed. Yeah, that's a funny story, man. That is so funny. And Dion tells it better than anybody. But
yep. I'm gonna go find that one tonight, because that's one of my favorite Dion stories, because Guido was hot.
Yeah, and I could see him holding a grudge too. I could see him, like, it may be 5 years later, but he was gonna get you back.
He's going to be the guy that finds a rattlesnake and throws it in the floor of your boat or something to get you back.
Yeah, for sure. That's good.
You know, one of his most proud moments was when 9/11 happened, and you guys will remember the story. You know, they were up in I think they were in Northeast, maybe New York State, and you know, they were having a tournament, and he was going to win it, or he really felt confident he was going to win it. And, they postponed this tournament because this national tragedy happens and they don't know what to do and people can't get flights. And they ended up having 12 guys in their RV and, just dropping them off along their way home to Missouri here and dropping some guy off in Illinois, a couple guys off in Ohio and different places. You guys remember that story?
Actually, James was telling that story when he was on. That's the first I'd heard of that, but that's I'm not surprised. I mean, that just shows you what kind of people they were, just trying to help out.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that was one of his most proud moments.
I think back to the boat dock altercations and things like that. I think a lot more of that stuff was going on back in the day for multiple reasons. I mean, there was a lot more respect on the lakes. And if you went sideways and just kind of stepped over your boundaries, there's a lot of people that weren't going to let that go. They were going to meet you in the parking lot at the boat ramp and tires were going to get slashed. Punches were going to get thrown. It's not like that so much, but back in the day, I mean, that's the way you handled that stuff. And it kind of kept it under wraps, because if you did something like that, there was going to be a price to pay. You didn't just pull up right next to somebody when they're on a ledge. It wasn't the whole Randy Haynes and Jason Lambert thing. A lot of that stuff wasn't happening because one of those guys was going to get their ass kicked in the parking lot later on that day. So it's a different world. And guys like that, guys like Gitto and Dion, they were a part of that. I think they kind of you knew the law of the land and you abide by the law, or there's possibly going to be some sort of price to pay. It's just the way it was, So,
yeah, things are different nowadays. And, I got 2 little girls in school and, my gosh, they don't, all they do is cry at each other now.
Hey, Jack, it doesn't matter if they're boys or girls. I had that conversation tonight. I got 2 boys, 6 and 12, or 6 and 11, and one of them tells one of them what to do, and the other one's like, I don't like it when he does it. It's like, boys, just figure it out. Good God, you guys are crying, and that's what I relate to. You guys are crying like 2 little dang girls. Like, stop this crap. So.
One thing you could always expect out of Dion and every Hibdon is they were going to tell you exactly what they thought. I got another story going back to Missouri Invitational, and Jack will probably remember it was the year I ended up winning, and they had made some changes to the golf scoring, and it was a much bigger part. And so they canceled the golf day on the second day, and the third day you could fish or golf. Well, Dion was out of it, and his partner was a golfer, so they golfed and all that. Well, we fished, we caught him, and Dion gets up on stage, and I had already weighed in, and they start talking to him and all that, and he goes, I got to say one thing. He said, if Newcomb doesn't win this, then I got a real problem. He said, because I don't like golf, I don't like golfers, and there's no way that he should not win this event. And that's something I remember forever. Just to hear him say my name in that fashion, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's good stuff, man. Yeah.
One of those Missouri Invitationals, he ended up having one of those diabetic, I don't know what you call them. It was like basically a diabetic event where, he was supposed to fish one morning and he doesn't show up, and they go to his room and they get him a bunch of orange juice and they get him going. But, they had to help him put on the bibs and everything. And they finally got him out in the water, and, gosh, the guy goes to whacking him again. I mean, just as soon as he gets on the water, he starts catching fish after fish after fish. They did really good in the tournament. He was paired up with Steve Hollenbeck. And, I think that was the final day. They won like $10,000 the final day. They only fished from like maybe 11 to 3 or something. I don't know what it was, but they did not get the full day in by any means. And they were catching them all on glide baits. That's before the glide bait thing got out. I think Dirk had a good stash of glide baits, and they got them before everybody else, and they were just whacking them.
Sneaky. Sneaky.
That sounds like a Hibdon, though, that, you thought we were going to catch him on a jig, and we were out there throwing glide baits before glide baits were even a thing.
Yeah.
It's that Japanese heritage.
Yeah. Well, guys, I'm going to kind of wrap this section down. We got one more guest that's coming up. But any closing thoughts or anything? I appreciate you guys coming on here and hanging out.
I just want to give my condolences to the entire family. I love Dion, but I was not nearly as close as a lot of people are, and especially his immediate family. It was a very tight-knit family, and I just want to send my condolences to them.
Yeah, I agree. That's perfect. You said it great. Every time, us here at Fish Intel and Bass and Bob, anytime we would ask him to do something, it was always an immediate yes. He just, no matter what it was, I'll do it. I'll be there. Let me know when. And for a superstar to be that accessible was amazing.
He was an inspiration to all, for sure.
Amen.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Yeah. You guys have a good evening. Sorry we had to meet under these circumstances. But I appreciate you coming on.
No, glad we could be here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cheers to the Hibdons.
Here. Good evening. All right, man.
Ugh.
A lot of stories, brother. A lot of stories. We're gonna have one more guest. We talked about the Japanese heritage, about the time that Dion spent in Japan. I mean, Dirk was touching on it a while ago, and when the Japanese anglers came to the States, Jun Shoji was one of those guys that definitely played a role in all that. And we're going to bring Jun in right now.
I believe it's tomorrow there.
What's going on, Jun?
Hi, it's nice to see you guys.
It's good to see you. It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Is it tomorrow there?
It's tomorrow.
I thought so. It's morning, right?
Yeah, it's right now it's about 12 o'clock in the afternoon right now.
Oh, okay.
Thursday?
Yeah.
Okay.
How you guys doing?
We're doing good. We're doing good.
Can you hear me?
Hey,
yeah, I can hear you.
You recognize that?
Yeah, that means you haven't used it yet.
Oh, I have used it. I just still keep the box.
Okay.
Put it. He puts it back in its safe place.
I do.
Yeah. Well,
Nice.
we were
Yeah.
we were talking about the connection between you and Dion.
Yeah.
When he would come to Japan.
Yeah.
And can you talk a little bit about that story, about the first time you met Dion and how that whole connection happened?
Yeah. Well, that timing was when I just got into the bass fishing industry. I was actually I'm same age as Dion. I was 24 at that time, and he was already married, and he already has 2 kids.
Okay.
And when I got into the industry, I worked for a tackle store in Japan, and it was right after I think Dion won the classic over there in the States, and he was on the Team Daiwa team. So they were going to host a, kind of like a celebration kind of tournament in Japan for him. And his dad and Dion came over to Japan, and they were looking for a translator for the 2, right? And, like in bass fishing, we talk, kind of different kind of language. You understand me, right?
Yeah.
So they were looking for a person who could translate, the correct way, in bass fishing language.
Yes.
So they offered me a job. Daiwa asked me if they could do, translation for about, I spent about 10 days with them, I think, full 10 days to about 2 weeks with them. And actually, that was my first time, meeting them. And that was actually my first time to know a Bass Pro from the States. So, everything was really exciting for me.
Who all came over on that trip?
Dion and Guido came over. I don't
Okay.
think his whole family came. I think it was only the two of them.
Was
Okay.
there any other Daiwa team pros involved in that, or was it just
No, it was only those two, Guido and Dion. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I think Guido won the classic, a lot more earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, I think they didn't do anything. So after Dion won the classic, they brought them both over here to, have some kind of celebration for him. They held a big tournament over there on Lake Biwa. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That was the first time I met him.
Did you get to spend any time in the boat with him?
I did. Every single day I was with him, I was on the boat with him.
Okay.
But I didn't have time to, fish with him because the tournament was meant for them.
Okay.
I was on the boat because in Japan you need a certain boat license to drive the boat.
Okay.
They don't have a boat license, so I had to be on the boat with them for, Dion or Guido to actually drive the boat.
So did you know of them before they came over?
No. I'm sorry, but I didn't know.
Okay.
Oh,
well, I might have told this story before. I told you that I lived in the States until I graduated junior high school, right?
Right. That's right.
But I never bass fished when I was in the States. So
you lived in California too, right?
I did, yeah.
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 Wow.
So I ocean fished, but I never, bass fished when I was in the States.
okay.
Yeah. I learned bass fishing when I came back to Japan. So
It's got to be easier here than it is there, right? Like,
I think
not
it
as
was
much pressure.
Oh yeah. Right now the pressure is so bad. There, a lot of the Japanese anglers are coming up with a lot of, new techniques that I don't think you guys don't even know about yet.
No, probably not.
Yeah.
It seems like we learned from Japan.
Yeah, it's even hard for me to, pick up with those stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you think of all the like the drop shot, the Neko rig,
Yeah.
Tokyo rig. There's like so many techniques from Japan that finally make it over to the States.
Like the mid strolling.
Yeah.
Do you guys actually know the hover rig and the mid strolling is a completely different style of fishing?
I always think of them as like the same thing.
Hover rig is it's the same kind of rigging style, but hover rig is used for more like sight fishing. So you'll watch the jig head all the way through the water, and you'll actually see the fish bite the rig. That's what they call hover rig over here in Japan.
Okay.
Oh.
And mid strolling is you kind of use the live scope and things like that. So it's a little bit different.
I got you.
So hover rig is hovering in the water, and then mid is mid depth.
That's right. So you have to always hover rig. You always have to, watch the jig head.
Oh.
So you hover it over a branch or a tree or something, and you watch the fish come from the tree and eat the hover rig. That's what we call a hover rig over here in Japan.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that 10 days that you got to spend with the Hibdons, what did you learn?
Well, that's how I think now I got so affected by bass sight fishing.
Mm.
They were, I think at the time they were called, pretty much masters of sight fishing. And when they came over to Japan, I didn't even know a thing about, sight fishing. And watching and listening to Dion and Guido talk about, it was the timing where the bass were in the spawning season over here in Japan when they came. And I didn't really know a thing about, sight fishing at that time. And I was listening really careful about, those two talking about where the fish were, what to throw when they're in this position and things like that. So, I didn't notice at the moment what they were talking about, but long time later on, because I'm really addicted to sight fishing right now. That's how I build up my career in the Japanese fishing industry as sight fisherman. So I didn't really notice at that moment what they were teaching me, what they were talking about, but 5-6 years later, when I got really into sight fishing, I think that Dion was talking about this 6 or 7 years ago, and I noticed it after a long time later on.
So was power fishing common in Japan at the time? Okay.
It was.
Okay.
I think only power fishing, and finesse fishing is just starting to come along. And Guido was saying when he was over there that even I think Dion and Guido, when they first started using the spinning tackle in the States, Guido told me that they were calling it sissy fishing.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So it wasn't the prime time for the spinning tackle kind of thing. I think it was the same in Japan too. Yeah. So they were using a lot of spinning tackle when they were fishing over here. Yeah.
So during those 10 days that he was there, that they were there the first time.
Yeah.
What did you do? Like, what was a normal routine for those days?
We spent, I think, 5 or 6 days on Lake Biwa, and they had a big tournament there. I think 300 or 400 people gathered.
Wow.
For the tournament. So it was a big event. And I was just getting into the tournament fishing kind of side. So it was pretty exciting. And they had the tournament. I can't remember what place they finished in, but they were actually doing a lot of sight fishing. Yeah. Using a lot of spinning tackle.
Huh. And then they would. So what was your role in their trip? You were the interpreter.
That was my job.
Okay.
Yeah. Because there was a camera crew always following the boat, right? So they wanted me to interpret what Dion or Guido was saying to the camera. So, the people watching television could understand what they were both saying.
Okay.
What was so funny is that there were some moments where, I could interpret so good that sometimes Guido, when I was on Guido's boat, Guido told me, "Jim, don't tell him what I was saying." He didn't want the audience to know what he was actually doing,
right?
Because I think it was, at the time, it was so kind of a special rig or special technique that he was doing. Yeah. It was pretty funny.
So what did you think about them as far as their personality and how did you guys get along?
I was watching your live. I was actually at the dentist today.
Oh.
So I didn't know if I was going to make it back or not.
Oh.
And I was watching when I was going and on my way back, and I was listening to the people who were on the live talking about Dion and Guido, and I think I felt the same. They immediately took me under their wings, and taught me a lot about bass fishing that I didn't even know, that I experienced later on in my journey through the bass fishing industry. Looking back, it was awesome. You can't get experience like that.
No, I mean, at that point in your life, like you weren't in the industry. You were just in the beginning stage.
Yeah.
You weren't designing baits. You weren't.
No.
Yeah, that's so like not intentionally, but it sounds like that Dion and Guido had a big impact on June's career moving forward. And you did, like you said, 6 or 7 years later, you didn't even know that was going to have that big of an impact.
That's right. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. You know, after we fished Lake Biwa, we moved to the Tokyo area, and they had another big tournament over there. And actually at that tournament, I was on the boat with Guido for about 3 or 4 days. And I didn't know what, at the time on the BSS, they had the boater and the non-boater, right? And I heard, rumors and heard from other people that fished in the U.S. that, the boater has the main control of the boat. Mm-hmm. So they sometimes, move the boat so the non-boater can't throw in front of the boater. And I didn't know about that until I, was on the boat with Guido, and actually that happened to me.
Yeah, we call that getting front-ended. The guy in the front, he front-ended.
Yeah. We were at that tournament. We were casting some lipless crankbaits, the Daiwa lipless crankbaits, and Guido was catching a lot of bass on the lipless crankbaits, and he didn't want me to cast in front of him. So after he caught a bass, he turned the boat a little bit sideways so I couldn't cast in front. But, that's a good experience for me, I bet you a lot of the Japanese, anglers right now, they won't be able to, experience that kind of stuff,
Yeah. Did they come to Japan several times?
No, that was the last time I saw him over here.
Okay.
Yeah, but I met him after that, when I got more, into the bass fishing industry. I went to, the iCast, and actually the shop that I work for, they were the international Ranger boat dealer over here in Japan. So when you go to the Ranger boat dealers meeting, Guido and Dion was there.
Oh.
So I met him over there. I met him, a lot of times when I was over there in the States. Yeah. And I got to tell you, at that time, there was no internet.
Right.
There was no internet. So there was no way for me to, communicating with them, after they left Japan. I would have to make a expensive phone call, or give them a fax or something,
Right.
Yeah, that's the only way I could, contact with them. So, yeah, it was pretty hard, But every time I went over there to the States, I met them somewhere, and talked. I always try to look for them, maybe at iCast. I know what sponsors they had, so I went over to their sponsors booth, and I could find Guido sitting around with his wife and say hi, and he always noticed me, so it was really fun.
Yeah. So when you were in the boat with Dion, or Guido, did they get along well?
Yeah. They were not, angry at each other, but there were some times where Dion would say something to his dad, and no, I don't think so. They would say something like that, but yeah, they were getting along. Yeah. But there were some times where Dion was catching more fish. He found the pattern. So, Guido was trying to get the information from Dion, but he wasn't giving him the, the full information at the time because they were both in the same tournament, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, I didn't really, understand it at that time, but, it was really funny, Yeah.
That is awesome.
I got to show you guys something.
Okay.
Absolutely.
You know, I still have this tackle box. And when I met, you know, Guido and Dion, it was what? I'm 58 right now, so I was 24 when I met him, so it was 35 years ago.
Yeah.
I still have this box since. It's in the same Flambeau box. And what's inside of it is, I don't think you guys ever saw it before.
No, I'm going to put you on a full screen.
This is a hand-poured G2 tube that they actually made. This is a full box of it.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
This is so important to me that I can't use it.
Oh my goodness.
There's so many colors they gave me.
And how thin those tubes are compared to tubes now.
I mean, real thin.
Yeah.
Real thin. Yeah.
How big are those? Like 3-inch tubes?
I think they're about 3 inch. Yeah, 3 inch and a half.
Thin, like thin, slender too. Like
Yes.
Yeah.
not fat.
Yeah, real thin. You know, at the time there was they were using a hook called the HP hook.
Yeah.
I think a hook that Shaw
With the
Grisby
clip, has a clip on it.
Yeah. It was a hook that Shaw Grisby was using for, you know, using tube for sight fishing. They use it over here in Japan too. And I was really, you know, I don't want to say shocked, but, you know, it really caught my eyes. It was pretty hard to get that hook too, because, you know, but they left a couple when they, you know, left Japan, and I used it over here.
Is that some of the baits they brought to you, June?
They bought it. They brought it before they actually told me that whenever the BSS tournament format comes out, the schedule comes out, and they know what lake that they're going to, they go to their garage and they actually make these baits for those lakes that they're going to.
Okay.
You know, to match the forage.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the ones that they made for the Japanese lakes that they were going to fish.
Wow.
Like this pumpkin one, maybe these little bit, you know, whiter color ones.
Yeah.
So that's what, when they came over, that's what they brought over.
Yeah, they brought this.
That
And
is,
they used a lot of them, but, you know, the ones that they were left, they gave it to me and, you know, told me you can use them over here. I used a couple, but, you know, this is a treasure.
man.
That's a piece of history right there.
It is. No, I can't get rid of this.
No.
Get rid of this. No. You know, the box is all bent and stuff, but, you know, I keep this. It's in my heart, you know.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely. That is so cool though. Like,
it is, right? Even this picture.
Wow.
You're so young, right? I'm so young.
Wow.
Even Guido's young.
That is really cool.
Yeah. I always keep this.
Was that was that like a poster or an
It
advertisement?
was, yeah. Daiwa actually took this one picture for me and put it in a frame and gave it to me.
That's a cool picture.
Yeah.
That is really cool. It's got the signatures on it.
Yeah,
Autographs.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's always with me in the office.
I love
That
that.
is neat.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
All spinning rods too on there.
Yeah, spinning rods. Yeah, spinning rods. I think Dion has a bait caster. Yeah.
Of course, Dion has a bait caster.
Yeah.
25-pound mono on it, probably.
Yeah. You know, at the time, you know, I was just starting in the bass fishing industry, so, you know, I didn't have any kind of resumes in the, you know, industry. I was just starting on the tournaments and things. And what was so surprising for me is that actually when Guido and Dion was going to leave to the States, they told the Daiwa, the person who was charged of the team Daiwa, Guido told him to put me in the Team Daiwa staff. I didn't have any kind of, tournament experience at the time, right? But they actually told Daiwa to put me in the Team Daiwa staff. But, I wasn't able to make it because, it wasn't my suggestion to be in the team or not, because I was working for a tackle store. And, Daiwa asked the tackle store for me to work with them. So it wasn't my, how should I say it? It wasn't for me to be on the team at the time. But,
Right.
10, 15 years later, I became a Daiwa staff. And, so it might have been meant to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, at the time, when we moved to the Tokyo area to do the tournament over there, I was in the boat with Guido, so I had to use full Daiwa tackle, right? Because there was going to be a television camera, following us. So Guido actually told the Daiwa manager, what is June going to do with this tackle? He doesn't have any kind of Daiwa tackle, right? So the manager came over to me and asked me, what tackle do you want? And I said, what tackle? What do you mean by what tackle, No, we're going to give you the tackle, what you want to use in the tournament. We're going to support you with a full tackle. So let me know what you want. And I was really confused. I didn't have any kind of sponsors at the time. And I just said, I didn't really think about it. So I just said, no, I just want the same tackle as Guido has.
Good answer.
Well, I mean, I think back like 24 years old, you're just in the industry, like, and somebody's offering all of this to you, right? Like,
yeah,
you don't want to be like, yeah, give me everything, but you also want to be like, oh, I just need a rod and a reel and I'll be good.
Yeah. So the next day, I had the full set. I think it was about 10, 12 tackle, set of tackle.
Oh, really? Wow.
Jeez, I was, oh my gosh, you're going to give me all of this?
So I do have a question. What were you using before Daiwa?
I was using, there was a rod over here. I think they still have the rod, Evergreen, right?
Yeah.
They had a rod called Combat Stick.
Okay.
And I was using a couple of their rods. Yeah.
So think about that, Gabe, like from our perspective in the States, Evergreen's a fairly new company here, right?
Yeah.
But they've been around that long.
They've been around.
Well, the jackhammer,
Yeah.
is what made them really popular.
That's right, in the States, right? Yeah.
Huh.
It was really neat.
Well, that's like Sunline. Sunline's been around for a long, long time too.
Right after Guido and Dion left to the States, when I was working at the store, one of the sales managers who came to the store, every month to check on, what we had in stock and things.
Yeah, inventory.
Yeah, inventory. He came up to me and said, "You're doing tournaments, right?" And I said, "Yes, I'm doing tournaments. I just started." But he said, "You want to use Sunline?" And I said, "Yeah." So that's when I started. But at the time, when people just start, there was a minimum of line, yards that you can use a year. Maybe it's 3,000 yards or something like that. That's the only yardage you can use, or you can order Sunline for you to use for 1 year. Yeah. So I've been on Sunline ever since.
Wow. Okay.
Long time.
Long time.
Really long time. And I think I had my signature line, I showed you the shooter.
Yeah.
Sorry, not the shooter, the invisible.
Right. The FC Sniper, like based off of that, right?
Yeah. That was when I started to, get tournament, won a couple tournaments and things like that. And they came to me and they asked me if I wanted to do some kind of collaboration or signature line with them. And at the time, they actually it was about a couple of years since they came out with the FC Sniper.
Mm-hmm.
And because I was so addicted to sight fishing, I wanted a camouflage fluorocarbon line made for me. So I just simply asked, can you make a fluorocarbon line camouflage? And I wanted it gray, brown, and green. That's the colors I wanted to use for the camouflage.
Mm-hmm.
And I just choosed it from the structure that the bass love.
Yeah.
Rock, trees, and grass, right?
Okay. Okay.
That's what it came from. So it's been in this Sunline lineup ever since. So this is my third time. I'm actually renewing it for the 50th anniversary for Sunline. It's going to come out next year in the 2027. You want me to give you a sneak peek?
Yeah.
Absolutely. We love sneak peeks.
I'm going to show you the first one that we came out with. This is the first one that we came out. This is called it's in kanji. It says Metan Shooter. This is the first one that we came out with.
Metan.
Metan means me means eyes.
Okay.
And the tan means you look for something.
Okay.
So I just put those two together and I called it sight fishing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It was a kind of greenish kind of camouflage.
Okay.
And the next one we came out with is the invisible. I think this is what they sell right now.
Okay.
And it was a little bit more brighter kind of green.
Okay.
And it has the brown and the gray in it.
Was it like every 18 inches? How
yeah, about every 18 inches.
Okay.
And where it overlaps, you get another kind of gradation color.
Okay.
Yeah. And the next one we're coming out with is a lot more darker color.
Oh.
So this one, it's hard to see.
For the fishermen, it's hard to see.
It's hard to see for the fishermen, and that equals, it's hard to see for the bass.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is going to come out in 2027.
So that pull a little section of that off so you can see what it looks like.
I don't think you can able to see it.
Yeah. Yeah. I can tell.
Yeah, we have the green, brown, and gray, and this time, because the Sunline technology, grew so big, they can actually do it 4 colors right now. So they have the clear in 18 inches.
Uh-huh.
So what that clear is for is because there's going to be people saying that they can't see the line, but that's what this line's meant for, right? For the camouflage. But because we made the colors so dark and you put the clear inside the dark colors, you can actually see the clear really bright.
Mm.
But if
the clear is what you get to see.
That's right.
Versus the camouflage.
Yeah. That's why we put the clear inside.
Is that like 25 or 30 pound test?
This is this is 25.
Okay. It looks like rope.
Yeah.
It's thick.
What about the 4-pound test? The first spool you showed was 4-pound test.
This is for a spinning tackle.
Okay.
Yeah.
You use 4-pound test?
Oh, we use 3-pound.
Wow.
4 pounds heavy, Gabe.
Yeah. We use 3-pound. Actually use 3-pound, yeah, for smallmouth over here.
Now, is that a leader or is that like full spool?
No, this is full spool.
Wow.
Yeah. So when we had this line, we actually had a leader system called the Metan leader. And what I did at that time was I wanted to use 4-pound for full spool. But, if the bass swallows your rig, you might have the potential of breaking off, right?
Yeah, the teeth will.
Yeah. So what I did was for 4-pound, I put a 7-pound fluoro leader on there. So you'll get the same castability with a 4-pound and the sensitivity, but you're putting the 7-pound leader on there, so you'll be more safe.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Huh.
4 pound.
4 pounds.
4 pound.
This is not thin. It's more. You have more thinner ones. I think we go to around 2.5 right now.
Jeez, it's that fishing's that tough.
That's why those Japanese guys, Japanese pros go to the States. When they catch the fish on a spinning tackle and they hustle those fish in. That's because they're used to the thin fluorocarbon line over here in Japan. And if they, use the braided line in the States, they can hustle them in because they're used to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. They have the perfect rod
Yeah.
too
Yeah.
for that and the
Really
drag.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool. So what is there a technique that's popular right now in Japan that we don't know about in the States?
Do you know a technique of there's certain tournaments that I understand you can't use in the States, like an Alabama rig?
Oh yeah.
Do you know the Japanese anglers over here are using the Alabama rig to mid-stroll?
Okay.
They're actually rigging it up as an Alabama rig on their bait caster, but they're strolling it like a jig head minnow.
Oh, like shaking it.
Yeah. When you see all those minnows flickering around underwater,
yeah,
it's a school of bait fish.
Are they still using it on like a wire?
They're using the wire, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's one of the new techniques that came out. I think 2-3 years.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think a lot of people. I mean, over here, most people cast an A-rig out, and reel it straight, or they'll pop it every once in a while.
Yeah.
Just kind of pop it every once in a while, or pull it to kind of make the wires kind of flex and flare back out.
They shake it all the time.
Shaking it. Okay. Well, I'm gonna try that because right now it's wintertime and the A-rig is like that's the thing to be throwing right now. So I'll try that.
Also, there's a rig that was around from maybe 20 years ago. And I don't think none of the people in the States know about it. It's called a live bait rig over here. What it is we use a soft plastic soft jerk bait, like a Sakamata, right? And you use a wacky rig type hook, like a big nose hook, and you actually rig it on the sides.
Okay.
And you put a light nail sinker in the front of the worm, the plastic, and you cast it out and you shake it on the surface, and it moves like a wounded bait fish on the surface. And we call it a live bait rig over here because it looks like a live bait. And I haven't heard from anybody in the States using it over there, but I think it's a pretty neat rig to use over there.
You leave it on top then the whole time?
Yeah. You can actually see the bass come up and eat it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
And if you rig it on the left side, you can swim it leftwards. And if you rig it on the right side, you can swim it on right ways. It's pretty neat.
Huh.
G was talking about that on Mercer today.
Oh, he was?
Mm-hmm.
Who was it?
Gerald Swindle.
Oh, he was.
No, it wasn't that he was doing it. He was talking about anglers doing that
okay.
technique. Like I rig it to the right side and it goes this way, and I rig it to the left side and it goes that way.
That's the rig that I was just talking about. Yeah.
But that's cool.
Yeah.
Are you selling? Are your products available in the United States?
Not yet. I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah, I got to get a homepage to sell to the States.
Are you trying to do that?
I'm trying to do that. Yeah, I think I'm going to make it on Shopify.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be only for the for other countries. Yeah.
Okay.
I tried it on the page that I'm using right now, but it didn't work out. So
now you have rods,
rods,
swim baits, soft baits,
wire baits, Alabama rigs.
Alabama rig.
Yeah. Sinkers. You guys actually know the Tokyo rig, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I might have told you in the past that that's a rig that I made.
Really?
Yeah, it's called the punch shot rig.
Okay.
Huh. Yeah.
And why the company they call it the Tokyo rig is because there was a guy over here in Japan that lived in Tokyo who actually invented that Tokyo rig without the sinker. I think a company in the States, VMC, has that Tokyo rig.
Yeah, right.
Actually, the Japanese market had it first, and there was a guy who invented it over here, and he lived in Tokyo.
Okay.
Okay.
That's why they took it back to the States, and I think that's why they call it the Tokyo rig.
Yeah, I remember Iconelli
Yeah.
Japan, and he kind of brought it back and hiked it up a little bit.
Yeah. At the time, he actually bought my sinkers and took it back to the States too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I knew about it because I knew what stores he bought it from him. And they told me that Iconelli bought some of your sinkers and took it back to the States. And I was really scared that maybe some company in the States would copy the sinker, design.
Yeah.
So every single podcast that Iconelli did about the punch shot rig, I did a comment saying, "Thank you for talking about my punch shot rig."
Making sure that it was known that it was yours.
Yeah. So they never came out with my sinker design. Yeah.
Huh.
You've got some crazy hard baits that you're designing right now too. I follow along all the time.
Oh, thank you.
I love it. I
The
love
big crankbaits, crazy crankbaits.
Yeah, they're all handmade, so it's pretty hard to make them. But the fishing business over here in Japan is terrible.
Really?
I don't know about the States, but it is. After COVID, it is terrible.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I heard Daiwa and Shimano's the top two companies over here in Japan, right?
Mm-hmm.
I heard they lost about 50% of their sales after COVID.
Jeez. Yeah, it was similar in the States. During COVID there was a big boom. Really big boom for a couple years.
Yeah.
And then it slowly started falling off. And I don't know if it's leveled out now, but there was definitely a drop off over here in the last couple years.
Yeah.
Well, we got the tariffs too. Like those are starting to hit.
Oh, okay.
Big time. Like, I'm a big Corrado guy, and my Corrados went to over like $220, and they were within the last 2 or 3 years. I was buying them for like $150.
Oh yeah.
So, well, like Lose the Tournament Pro Lose, they're made in China.
Yeah.
But that Tournament Pro reel has been $199 price point for 20 years.
Yeah.
Now it's $229.
Jeez.
Because of the tariff. Yeah. So everything, not everything. Daiwa stayed the same.
Yeah.
Pretty
right?
consistent.
Yeah. The Daiwa stayed the same, but some of the other reels have went up, as well as the tackle.
Now I can tell you what we can't get a hold of is Sakamata shads.
Sakamata shads are like gold.
Well, if I go to the tackle store right now, right? Maybe if I took my computer, doing this live right now, and took it to one of the tackle stores, it's gonna blow your mind how many Sakamata shads we have over here. I mean, I think they have every single color.
So
I don't know
Sakamata shads here are kind of like the days that we talk about the A-rig, how the A-rig craze, where people were making them out of coat hangers and whatever they could get their hands on and charging $60.
Yeah.
I was part of that craze, and I was buying every eBay. I don't know where I was getting them from. If it was Japan, China, I would order some stuff that was as cheap as I could afford or as expensive as I could afford. And all of a sudden, like a month later, stuff would start showing up. So I was buying stuff all over the world.
Well,
the
Sakamata shad is, there's a few people that, there's almost little private groups that whenever they release some Sakamata shads on a website, they tell everybody and then they buy them up. They're usually gone within an hour. It's like whenever a company gets a hold of some and they advertise them, they're gone like that, just instantly.
Well, Baitworks will put a email thread out.
Okay, yeah.
That they got like Sakamata shads today. Got them in today.
We have 10 packs,
and like, it doesn't matter. They're gone.
That's only one person, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
we have a lot. I think I saw a post from Depths that they were coming out with it's a body of a Sakamata shad, but they had a shad tail on there,
like a paddle tail.
Yeah, it's a swim bait kind of. Yeah, I think it's like the Zoom Fluke or something. Fluke with the paddle tail in there.
Woman Fluke.
Yeah, it looked something like that. They're coming out with this.
So is Zoom in Japan like Sakamata shads are here? Like, is Zoom hard to get? No,
because the price went up so bad. High.
Right.
Before COVID, we bought the Zoom swamp crawlers. Those straight worms, the 6-inch. We used them for nickel rigs over here for a long time, and we would have been able to buy them for about $7 over here in Japan, and now they're over $20.
Wow. What's a Sakamata shad over there?
It's cheap because they sell over here in Japan. it doesn't go over $10 over here in Japan.
Yeah, I think it's $20 a pack over here.
Yeah, $18.99, $20.
Yeah, it's a complete opposite.
Yeah.
I
think I would rather have a Sakamata shad than a Zoom swamp crawler.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but everybody over here throws a Zoom swamp crawler, where not everybody over there throws a Zoom swamp crawler.
Yeah.
Pretty neat, huh?
Yeah.
It's crazy. We just need to start sending each other boxes of
oh yeah.
tackle swaps.
Yeah. Maybe I should do a Zoom with you in the tackle store,
Yeah, you make everybody sick.
You guys was crazy,
Yeah, I know you have all kinds of stuff that we've never seen over there.
We just need to buck up and make a trip to Japan, Gabe.
Yeah, you should.
I want to.
I'll take you all over the place. Give me a ring.
Yeah. Yeah. I was actually I've had this conversation with my wife a couple times where talk about where we would like to go to if we ever went on a trip overseas, and Japan is like number 1 or number 2 for me for sure.
I had a client come to my guide trip last year. It was during early springtime. He came from California, and the guys at Optimum Baits introduced me to those customers, and he came over here with his whole family, with his wife, his son, his son's girlfriend. They came all over here, and they said, "This is the safest country that I ever been to."
Huh?
Really?
Yeah. He said he's going to come this year too. I'm not going to any other country. That's what he said. The food's good. The scenery is beautiful. Well, actually, when we went fishing, the fishing wasn't so good, but he was a kind of big bait guy, so we threw the big bait the whole day. So yeah, we had a lot of chases, but we couldn't catch a fish. So yeah, we had a lot of fun.
Now, how close to Lake Biwa are you?
About 30 to 40 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah. Not so far.
We're going to give away a $25 Baitworks gift card.
Oh, okay.
Let this run just for a couple minutes, and then we'll wrap it up. So
what time is over there?
It is 10:33 p.m.
Jeez.
Yeah. Yeah, your day's just getting started. Ours is coming to an end.
You guys got to wrap it up.
Yeah. So if you want to get in on the giveaway, hashtag capital letters DION, and Baitworks actually carries the Hibdon hammer jig. So that'd be a great way to support, the Hibdon family. Go over there and pick you up a few of the Hibdon hammer jigs. They're pretty quality jigs for sure. I don't know I think Baitworks might be the only place that actually carries them. I'm not really sure. So June, what do you what's in 2026 for you? What are your plans with your bait company, or any more tournaments? Or
Well, I'm not doing the big major tournaments over here in Japan right now. I slacked off the big, tournaments for a pretty long time now. I'm doing, local tournaments right now. Yeah. I have to, keep myself in the groove.
Right.
I don't want to, not fish any tournaments at all, so I'm fishing a lot of local tournaments. Yeah.
That's good.
I made a couple of good finishes last year. Yeah.
Are those all on Biwa?
On Lake Biwa, and a couple of tournaments in the mountains. Ikehara.
Okay.
Ikehara. That's one of the lakes that was more famous than Lake Biwa before. Yeah. That was one of the lakes that the Japanese big bass record was caught pretty long time ago. Lake Ikehara.
Oh. That was was that 25 pounder? Or almost 25 pounds or not?
Almost 25 pounds, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. And then you're just continuing to build new products with Dream Express.
Yeah, that's right. Day in, day out. That's I got inspired by the Wigglewort. It's not exactly the same, but I wanted to make my own.
Is that the poker face or?
That's the poker. That's the hog hunter.
Okay.
Yeah.
That one is.
That's the flat face.
Okay.
A flat side crankbait. Yeah. Simple name.
There's the hog hunter.
Oh, that's the hog hunter. Yeah. It's not exactly like, the body shape is not exactly like the Wigglewort. I didn't want to make exactly the same, but the action's pretty much the same. Yeah.
All right, we'll give this away.
How many people got in? Oh,
only 10.
Only 10.
Yeah.
It's late. It's late.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Dustin. You can get a hold of me on Facebook at Gabe Montgomery, or on Instagram at 10horsemonty6, and I will get you taken care of. Well, let's wrap this up, June. I appreciate you coming on and sharing your stories about Dion and Guido overseas. That's pretty. You have a unique perspective being in Japan and having some anglers from America come over and getting to spend time in the boat with them. So it's been nice to share those.
You have a little bit more time?
Yeah, we do.
After they went back to the States, I actually met him at a tournament that I fished. And what that tournament was, it was the M1 tournament.
Yeah.
You call it the Forest Wood Cup right now, right? And it was on the Kissimmee Chains in Florida. And I accidentally, I don't want to say accidentally, I got Angler of the Year in Japan, and they invited me over there for the tournament. And I fished the tournament, and I missed the top 10 by 1.5 pounds. So I was in 11th place.
Wow.
Yeah, and Guido and Dion was both fishing that tournament. Yeah, I met him there.
So you got to fish against them.
Huh?
You fished against them?
Yeah, I fished against them.
Oh, what year was that? Do you know?
A long time ago. Really long. I think it was the.
That was the 99, November 7th of 99.
I think it was the second M1 tournament.
Okay.
It was the second year, I think. I didn't fish the first one. It was the second year. So it was, I think it was 2000 or 2001 or something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
I went with their, just my tackle. Ranger had the boat ready for me and everything. So yeah, it was a pretty neat experience.
So you did good. You did really good.
Yeah, I think I was 11th. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a lot of grass lakes in Japan?
Well, the home lake that I fish, Lake Biwa is nothing but a grass lake.
Okay. So so Kissimmee, you felt
really
kind of comfortable.
Yeah, really liked it. And I used a lot of, at that tournament, I used a lot of sneaky Japanese bait. So
yeah. That was before the internet.
Yeah, that was before. I think it was
YouTube.
Yeah. I gave a lot of those sneaky baits to, before I left, I gave them to Guido and Dion. So yeah, they might have caught a lot of bass with it too.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, June. It's good talking with you. Good catching up.
Absolutely.
I will reach out to you sometime in the next 6 months or a year or so and have you back on. We can do a full live stream again. Show off some of your new baits and stuff.
Maybe talk about the, some of the Sunline, lineup too.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
100%. Definitely.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, have a good day, June.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks,
bye.
June.
Bye.
Man,
all right, we're going to wrap it up. I got to go to bed. Man, that was a good stream. A lot of good stories about Dion and Guido. Thanks to everybody that hung out with us. And we forgot to mention this, but there is going to be a memorial service this Sunday in Stover, Missouri. I believe at 3:00. They posted it on Facebook. If you go to Dion Hibdon Professional Fisherman on Facebook, it has, or Lawson Hibdon Fishing. They have the date. It's like 4.5 hour drive for us, but
Celebration of Life.
Celebration of Life. Yeah, that's right. So yeah, anybody who's in that area and they want to go by and check that out, certainly do. But that's it. Thanks for hanging out with us.
I saw Amy on here and
yeah,
I just want to.
Yeah, thank you, Amy, for the kind words. I put one of the comments up there, but it means a lot. I don't know if she's still on her or not, but it means a lot to us to know that Dion enjoyed the stream just as much as we did.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. That was one that when Gabe would call and say, "Hey, we got Dion on," it was a little schoolgirl coming home every day. Like you just couldn't wait to get started.
Yeah, and those streams, if you go back and by the way, if you haven't, anybody that's on here right now listen to us as we're winding down, if you're not familiar with those streams, go back and watch them. Trust me, it will be worth your time. You'll get hooked just listening to Dion. Like I said, the other night I was editing a video and I ended up just getting sidetracked for like 30 minutes just listening to him tell stories, and I had to come back to center and refocus because I was trying to do some editing. But yeah, those streams are the most viewed streams, especially from our repeat guests. I mean, every one of them has 3,000 to 5,000 views. They just keep on growing, and that's pretty rare for somebody to come on. And every time they come on, there's going to be, there was, I think at one of our streams there was over 200 people watching.
He held the record. I do remember this. He did held the record for the number of viewers on a stream.
Yeah.
Like live as we were on, he held the record. So
yeah, I think it was like 207 or something. But it was almost always like 150 to 180 people on for like almost the whole time. And that's unheard of for us. Typically 50, 60, 70 people, you know, off and on throughout a stream. That's more normal. But for him to come on 5 different times and the crowd participation never fall off, that's just a testament to how well he bonded with the people listening and how good his storytelling and his tips, you know, like several of the guests said tonight, especially James, how he was just kind of a common sense guy. You can make it really complicated, or you could bring it back and just keep it common sense based. Keep it simple. It's a fish. It's eating, reproducing. That's basically what it's doing.
Yeah,
so
they swim, eat, and the other one,
and make little baby bass.
That's right.
So that right there is pretty valuable information. But you can make it as complicated as you want, or you can just keep it simple and try to figure it out on whatever body of water you're on and the day you're fishing. But yeah, that's it, folks. Gonna wrap this up. Thanks again. Our thoughts and prayers go to the Hibdon family. It was a great loss. And, you know, at least we got the memories. At least we got the video memories. So, JB, good night. Take care.
See you guys.